Hey, we are live here with Paul Williams. Hi, Paul.
Hi, folks. I can't see any video on the TMN bit yet, but I'll trust that it's going to come through. And can you hear me, Derek? Can you see anything? I'm not getting any video through yet on TMN.
No, you won't, Paul, because I haven't posted the link or anything. That's why I said that it'll be a minute or two. But you are live right now on G Plus streaming, so.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm gonna preamble until we get into the TMN room because that's where a couple of people are already waiting to chat. But tonight I wanted to talk about CainesArcade.com. That's CAINESARCADE.com, which was a little video that I got sent by 2 or 3 people the other day, and when I got sent it, I almost didn't watch it, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad the 2nd and 3rd and 4th people sent it to me, and then I did watch it because it was a really cool little video that someone shot about a little boy who, well, he kind of followed his dream. And I wanted to talk tonight about the importance of doing that. Do what you love, follow your dream, and be of service to others. So while I'm doing that, if you're in the TMN room, you can chat by typing in the chat window, and if you're not, you might be able to type in or comment on the thread for the Hangout, and we might see it. I don't know, because we're kind of making history tonight. So, Cain's Arcade was a little video that a guy called Navan shot, and I'm going to rehash this, by the way, in a couple of minutes' time, but I'm just going to preamble for a minute. There's a little video that a guy called Navan shot because he was the only customer in this bizarre, very strange and ethereal arcade made of cardboard that a 9-year-old boy had made by hand, all on his own, in East Los Angeles. And the moment I started watching the video, I was hit with this real emotional pull because I saw this little boy who was just absolutely enraptured making his arcade, and he was just so into it. And it just reminded me, first of all, of my own little boy and how he loves, when he gets lost in doing stuff, it's just magical. And then it reminded me of all those times when I did that when I was a kid and occasionally as an adult. And it really made me tear up. And what it touched on me is that it's really important to do what you love. And there are a whole bunch of reasons about why that is important. Anyway, so I'll go into those at some point. And in case you are wondering who else is in here, hang on, I'm just typing in the window because people in the TMN room are saying, isn't the show coming? And we're going to try and stream this. This is something we've never done before. We're going to try and stream this show into a number of different places simultaneously. I think it's YouTube and TMN we're going to do mainly, and I think Twitter possibly. George will set me straight on that. And then in Google Plus as well. There's a number of people in the room. Oh, hey. Now then, Istvan, you were just asking, are you still there? And Bob and Chewiz and Elizabeth and JC and Judith and Rich. I can see a whole bunch of people in the TMN chat room. If you can hear me, please type in a yes. You can. Fantastic.
Excellent.
If you can hear me, that's terrific. Brilliant. Okay, so the first stage of our technological domination of the world is complete. Lovely. Okay. So, and if anything goes wrong, guys, in the chat room, just type, you know, it's all gone to hell or whatever, and that would be fantastic. Thank you, and then we'll know. So George is linking us up simultaneously with YouTube, Google Plus, and TMN. So we're streaming a live Hangout, and you can see people. You can see real people, guys, in the windows below me. Look, they're there. Oh, that's cool. That's nice to know, Bob. So we have Andy, who is a kind of cool-looking dude in a picture that actually I don't know whether you can see him. Anyway, I can see him, and he's got his picture up. Glennis is grinning from ear to ear like a Cheshire cat. We've got Scott Nelson in the house, and you got how many pairs of headphones you got, Scott?
I've only got one on right now.
So that may have been a historic moment that you heard other people speaking live in the TMN room, which might be amazing. But anyway, we've been trying to do this for such a long time, and so it's great that it's finally working. So this is streaming out from the Hangouts. This is Hangouts on air, and we're broadcasting it to you live. So terrific. Okay, now you're all here, and thank you so much for being here and listening to this live. And for those of you that are listening later on a recording, we're all kind of excited. But I wanted to kick off by talking to you about a little viral video that I only just came across the other day. 5 people sent it to me on the same day. I think Justin Wheeler was the first person, and then JC sent it to me next, so thanks for that, guys. And then a whole bunch of other people sent it to me too. And it's this video called Kane's Arcade. And if I just type the address, I'm going to type it quietly into the chat window on TMN. Don't go watch it now, but watch it later if you haven't seen it. And if you have seen it, terrific, and we'll be talking about it in a minute. Let me just explain why I'm not showing you the video. For copyright reasons, at the moment, we have to be careful what we broadcast. So just so you know, I'm not holding out on you, but you can go and watch it on your own time. We can't broadcast it yet. We're waiting for Google to clarify all the copyright restrictions and all that stuff. But basically, for those of you that have seen it, Kane's Arcade, well, let me tell you this, right? I am male. I'm 41. Am I 41 or 42 years old? The moment I started watching this, I started to get really emotional. All right, this is canesarcade.com, a little video, and there's this little 9-year-old boy, and he makes Google Plus, YouTube, and TMN. Thanks, Scott. He makes his own arcade, and when I started watching it, I was thinking, what kind of arcade is he going to make? And he makes this really cool interactive arcade with all sorts of little things, little games, little puzzles, little challenges, and they're all made out of cardboard, which is the only material that's in plentiful supply. And he does this. You stopped aging at 30 bob. That's terrific. I wish I could have done that. I didn't think of it. So he makes this arcade out of cardboard, and he does it in the front of his dad's auto parts shop. And so this guy, who's called George, who's Kane's dad, runs this auto parts company in East Los Angeles. And he likes to work out the back because he mainly does his business on eBay these days. So he's got this front of the shop, which kind of doesn't do very much. And his son, Kane, hangs out with him there and just said to him one day, Dad, can I make an arcade? So his dad said, yeah, sure, thinking, phew, keep him out of my hair for a few minutes and keep him busy and, and he won't get bored. So this kid just goes for him, gets all the cardboard that he can, and he basically just makes all these little game boxes, and he's so into it, and you see little clips of him sellotaping really seriously and everything. But what he does do then is he makes a couple of games and he sits out the front and he waits for customers to turn up. And this was the bit that started to break my heart, because all the time that they're showing you everything he's done, he's so enthusiastic, he's so fired up about it, and he doesn't get any customers. And so he doesn't get any customers at all until this one guy turns up. Okay, so they're all talking. His dad and Kane. They're all talking about how he made the arcade. They're all talking. His dad and Kane. I'm getting feedback. Dad and Kane. I'm going to turn down my audio. You can still hear me, okay? Mm-hmm. I got some wicked feedback then. Multiple times. Anyway, there you go, technical issues. Can you still hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, cool, thanks. This one guy comes in, and so then the dad says, one day my secretary came in and said to me, hey, George, come quick, come quick. Kane has got a customer. And so they're looking on the CCTV footage, and they see this guy playing one of Kane's games. And this guy comes in, and basically he's playing the game, and he's so amazed by what this kid has done, this lad Kane, and he's talking to him, and then basically he's asking him about what has he done and everything, and he just asks him about how many people have come along, and so basically he finds out he's the only customer that Kane has ever had, and he thinks about this, and he goes away, and basically he gets busy on Facebook and on the internet, and he basically sets up a bit of a flash mob, and he gets people to basically sign up to an event where they're all going to turn up to this auto parts shop, and they're going to surprise Kane. Well, if I don't want to say much more, because in case you haven't watched it, because it's a beautiful thing that they do, and they all turn up and they do surprise him. But I won't say too much about that because it is a lovely moment. Anyhow, the upshot is that they've created this this website called canesarcade.com, and I'll just spell that in the TMN room. Okay, so it's CAINESARCADE.com. And if you go there, you can watch the video. It's about 9 minutes long, I think, something like that. And you can also donate, and this is the cool part about it. They've got a scholarship fund going called the Kane's Arcade Scholarship Fund, where you can donate $1 or more to help Kane go to college to become some kind of engineer if he wants to when he's older, to let loose all this creativity and to foster all this skill, but also to help other kids. So they're aiming for a donation target of about $250,000 to set up a foundation, and they have the Goldhirsch Foundation is going to match their donations dollar for dollar up to $250,000, which is superb. So they're actually taking this and they're going to make it into something that's going to help not just Kane but a whole bunch of other kids, which I think is fantastic. So if you haven't seen it, as soon as you get a moment when you're not listening to us here, go and watch it and find out more about it and see how it affects you, because it really brought a tear to my eye. I don't mind saying that, and I do normally mind saying that. I don't mind saying that about this. This is absolutely brilliant. Now then, I got a couple of people here in the room with me, so if I can, I'll just try and find out if they've watched it or not, because some of them have and some of them haven't. Guys, have you watched it?
I watched it.
Yeah?
Very well done.
Scott watched it, Kane?
Yeah, I watched it, and it made me cry too.
Oh, Andy.
I didn't see it.
You haven't seen it yet?
No.
It's fabulous. And the thing is that the first time that I talk about it to anybody, the first thing they say to me is it real? When I describe it, is it real or is it fake? And there's this cynical element that crops up
Photoshop
with online stuff. Yeah, is it real or is it fake? And actually, I remember Glynis asked me this earlier. She said, is it real, this thing? And I said, I think so. And it doesn't matter. I think that's what I said. Because it takes you on a journey and it makes you think, or at least it did for me. So the lessons I took away from it there were a couple of lessons, but there are a few things that I want to push out to you, and I want to challenge you by the end of this little hour that I'm going to go for. I want to challenge you. So the first thing is do what you love. So if you do what you love, is that a good idea or not? Because here's Kane, he's a 9-year-old boy, and he's lost in doing what he loves. And I know that if I ask a couple of other people what they think about that, they'll give you some really fantastic. Chad Castleman, yeah, he says. If you get lost in doing what you love, I think wonderful things happen. I think that's where we hit the zone where we just, we're just cruising along at altitude, and I think it's the most amazing experience to have. So I want to say, do what you love. But why? Why should you do what you love? And if I ask anyone else who's hanging out with me here, because I'm not using them yet, I'm so used to just talking and talking and talking. So I'm going to sit back for a minute, and I'm going to ask the guys who are here with me. Guys, what do you think? Why should you do what you love, as opposed to, I don't know, do what makes money, or do what other people tell you to do? Why should you do what you love? What do you reckon?
Well, I think you should always do whatever is your passion. The thing is that we do live in a physical world where we have to pay mortgages and you have responsibilities and things like that. But as a Taoist priest myself, I'm all about the flow, and you should always be doing whatever's in front of you to do that makes you go to happiness. And if you are living your life in flow, which most people don't understand, they don't even have a concept of what that is, because they've taken on the yoke of what society has dictated is what life, the flow of life is, then it's almost impossible for them to conceive that you could actually have a life that you are passionate about and you're doing what you love every minute of the day. In Taoism, we talk about it all the time. And you don't ever do anything in the flow of your day that isn't part of your passion. And you make it part of your passion by being in alignment with that focus. And you're in alignment with that because you're being that. And so it becomes a passion. And, you know, the way your world occurs for you arrives at the same time as the way you're being and the action you're taking. So the passion goes right on through. It's created by the way your world occurs for you. So if your world is occurring, I know this is a little bit convoluted, sorry, Paul, but this is me. And sorry, it might be the head congestion from the cold too, I don't know. But the way I'm getting around the horn on this is that if your world occurs for you as you are not living your passion, you are not living the life of your dreams, you are not, then you're living the hard life, the life of duty. If you can make your world occur for you as childlike wonder, and you wake up every day and you're like, yes, and you create that for yourself, then every action you take and every way you're being in that world is in alignment with that, all shows up at the same time, and yay, passion and happiness, and you get to do your passion. So that's my answer. I'm sticking to it.
Well, that's fantastic. Thanks, Glenys. And I'm sorry, guys, that you're here and you're listening to me whittering on, and I'm not. I'm just getting used to this new format, which is terrific. I really like, and we've got some really good comments. Chad's come into the room and said yes in capital letters, and then JC's obviously the capital letter infection is really big now. George, you're a genius with 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 exclamation marks.
Oh.
So obviously people appreciate the what we can do here. Scott, if you could do what you loved, I have no idea what that might be, but you know, what would life be like if you could do what you love?
You know what? It is. I am living what I love right now. It's. I worked a long time in the corporate world, and I got started working from home about a year ago, and then that's what I do. My wife is doing like full-time volunteering work, and she is up to like 2 a.m. doing that. It's a lot more than a full-time job for her, and I'm usually working 12 to 14 hours a day as well, and smiling the whole time. Always finding something new to stick my finger in, like this, my show on TMN, trying new things with internet marketing. There's so much, it's so broad. And like Glenys said it right in my head, it's if you can find something that makes you happy, that you get up in the morning and you can't wait to get started doing whatever it is you want to do, then that's the good life.
Fantastic! Wow, jealousy is a negative thing, but I'll admit to a little bit of jealousy. So I'm still not doing exactly what I love. I teach during the day, which is great, and I love that. And then all the admin stuff is the bit that's sort of like, oh. So anyway, I'm working on it. But listen, it's great to hear people talking about doing what they love. I absolutely get a massive boost from hearing people talking about what they love. So thanks for that, Scott. And I got Chad Castleman in the TMN room saying, I went from 3-figure months to 5-figure months with less effort when I focused on what I love. And then he said, of course, I'm a sick puppy that loves to write code. But that's great. I mean, I think you've got to have a passion to write code. I can summon up that passion once a year. I teach English, French, media, and a bunch of things, Chad, at high school level. But I'm thinking of, well, I'm thinking of going 2 ways actually. I want to quit my job, and I want to go and train adults to do a whole bunch of things, and then at the same time I want to free up enough time that I can volunteer in what are called junior schools in the UK, so I can go and teach sort of 8, 9-year-olds all sorts of stuff, and that's my passion. That's what I want to do. And then Komodo, I don't know what your real name is, so I'm going to call you Komodo. Says, cool, Chad, good to hear. I'm going to be starting my online marketing quest soon. And it is like a quest. I like that language. It kind of, it conjures up the old romance of the Arthurian stuff for me. And but yeah, the quest. And it is important, I think, to have that kind of goal and that sense of adventure when you go off and you want to do your stuff. So that's great. The thing I got from this Kane's Arcade was do what you love. So there's this kid and he's doing what he loves. And we get told, focus on your passion, do what you love. How can anyone enjoy writing code, says Komodo. Well, thank God that people do. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. So the thing is, what happens if you do what you love and it doesn't seem to be getting you anywhere? Should you quit? Should you stop? Should you do something you don't love? JC says, if you don't love what you do, you may as well work at a, and then he censored himself. I think he means a job, a job. Yeah, that's right. If you don't love what you do, you might as well have a job. Now, the beautiful thing about Kane's Arcade, and this is the thing that I really, really love, is that another guy comes along and he spots what Kane is doing and he sees all of this potential. He sees what, he actually uses the word genius when he describes Kane, the little boy, because he talks about all the intricate detail that he puts into his cardboard arcade games. And even down to, like, he makes a crawl space around the back, so when you win at the game, he can crawl around the back and poke out a little ticket so that you get your ticket. And there are a few little genius moves. He's got calculators where he uses the square root function as a means of checking, have you got the right ticket and stuff like that. And it is really impressive for a lad to have done. I was blown away by it too. But this guy comes along and he sees what this boy is doing, and then he takes that and takes it to the next level. And this is one of the big messages that I got out of this, because if you do what you love and you shout it out from the rooftops and you tell everybody what you're doing, someone somewhere is going to be able to help you. Okay? If you hide your light under a bushel, if you keep small, if you are timid, if you don't do what you love, you don't serve the world, you don't serve yourself, and no one else can serve you. And I really got that message incredibly strongly from watching this film. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it. canesarcade.com. But not yet, because we're talking. And anyhow, so this whole thing comes up then about being of service to others. Now then, Scott in the room has just said, that's a passion of mine too. I seem to become one with the computer or smash it. I like that. Why would it matter if it doesn't get you anywhere, says JC. There is no success in love. I don't know, JC. I think love is its own success. But I think you knew that anyway. But yeah, why does it matter if it doesn't get you anywhere? Well, of course it will get you somewhere. If you do what you love, it's going to create something in the world. Someone somewhere is going to appreciate it. So this one guy, Navan, comes along and says to George, Kane's dad, do you mind if I make a film about this, what's going on here? And George says no. Anyway, all the kids at school, Kane's school, they don't believe that he's got his own arcade. So he doesn't wear his T-shirt. He's got his own T-shirt for Kane's Arcade. And he won't wear it to school because he thinks the other kids will just make fun of him. So then Navan basically goes online and he gets a whole bunch of people to turn up and play all the games. And they chant when they get there, we came to play. We came to play. And the other thing I want to talk about is when you do what you love, play is the word, okay? Because when you're doing what you love, it's not like work, is it? JC's chatting to me in a mixture of capitals and small letters in the box there. I'm going to unravel that in a minute, JC. If you do what you love, it isn't work, it's play. And when you do what you love and you're in the zone, or what Glennis said about being in the flow, and other people have got their words for it, life just becomes elegant, and you sort of glide through. And an analogy that I didn't create but I'll use is that it's like, if you're struggling along, it's like you're the passenger on your own bus and complaining about the bumpy ride. And when you start to get in control of your life and you do what you love, it's like you've just taken the wheel and you're now able to steer very gracefully around all the obstacles that you see coming. And everything's a lot smoother. So do what you love. And I suppose one of the questions I'm going to ask in a minute is, what should you do if you don't believe that? Okay, because you hear it from people. You know, there are all sorts of gurus pop up, and yeah, all love what you do, JC. Yeah, that's good advice too, because you can find things to love in everything, I think, pretty much. But what do you do if you don't believe that? What do you do if you're still kind of caught up in being timid, or you're not quite sure, or you don't feel brave enough to do what you love because you're worried about the consequences? What should you do if you don't believe it? So I'm going to throw that out to everybody in a minute. What should you do if you don't believe that it's possible to do what you love? You have a dream, but you dare not follow it. And then, you know, what are the limitations that imposes on you, and what are you missing out on? Anyhow, if you do what you love, then you're going to be of service to others. So we're going to move on to that in a moment and talk about that. But I'm just going to unravel what JC's saying. He's dominating the chat in TMN. Why would it matter if it doesn't get you anywhere? There's no success in love. Or make money out of you or your idea. Yeah, I guess you can. Love what you do. If you can't be with the one you love the one you're with. Yeah, that's right. There's an element of acceptance and compromise and stuff like that. That's absolutely right. And we always want more than we have, but it's about having what we want, not wanting what we have. Or is it wanting what we have, not having what we want? Yeah. So I'll chat the way. Wa's joined us. Hiya, Wa. Thanks for coming in.
Hi. How are you?
I know you've had internet trouble, so if we lose you, everybody, Wa Butty's going to be around later on to talk about something to do with mind, but I'll leave that to him to explain in a moment. But if we do lose you, Wa, we'll fill in, and then we'll keep it all going for you to come back and jump in. Okay?
That'll be fantastic.
Cool. Now then, Andy, are you still there?
I am.
Cool. What would you, if you didn't believe it? If you didn't believe that you could do what you love, what kind of a life is that? If you don't follow your dreams.
It's a sad one. I've always done what I love. It started for me with music, and then wanting to put things to go with music, and then wanting to animate things that I've just put with the music to make it all come to life. So it's all connected to what I love. I can't imagine not doing anything I love.
Cool.
I mean, what is it about love anyway? The thing with love is hot, isn't it? It's a hot thing. So I treat my love like I treat my coffee. I can drink it when it's hot, but if it goes cold, I gotta refill it. I gotta refresh it. I don't want cold coffee. I don't believe in iced coffee.
I like that. Thanks, mate. Istvan in the TMN room has said, in my previous life, I've had 2 occasions when I did what I loved, and those were the happiest years of my life. Writing my own column at a newspaper and later working as a humanitarian in war zones. Wow, Istvan.
Wow.
Yeah, very cool. And this is the thing, you know, right now I'm kind of stuck in my job and I want to be doing something else. I want to be able to give all sorts of things that my job at the moment is tying up. So I'm taking the steps right now to free that all up and change it all around. So, wow, now you're with us. Sorry, I don't know how much of it you caught, but we've just been talking about the Kane's Arcade video. Did you watch that?
I did watch that, and it was so inspirational. You know, how a small boy who just wanted to get his message out, you know, and get his passion, and just did what he loved. It was so inspirational, and then, you know, just the, you know, we can call them happenstance, but is it, you know, is that what you put out into the universe, and that's what you attract? That, you know, just the way it snowballed when, you know, one person, you know, ended up at his arcade. It was, you know, it was so inspirational and fantastic.
Yeah, I just loved it, and the look on the boy's face. If you haven't watched the video yet, it's worth watching. Just towards the end, when they've got a camera on the boy, when they come around the corner, because his dad takes him away to play somewhere else for a bit while they set everything up, and then he brings him back, and the kid, you know, they come around the corner, and just the look on his face is it's wonderful. And anyway, it's, you know, it's well worth watching. But I think there are all sorts of lessons to take away from it. To do what you love is wonderful. The other thing is be of service to others. I got that really strongly, that Kane didn't get put off, he never lost sight of the fact that he was making this arcade for other. I mean, he was doing it for himself, but he made something that other people could enjoy. And his dad didn't stop him. His dad said, "Great, go for it." And when Kane said, "You know, I want to go out and do this," his dad said, "Well, why don't you?" And then he showed him how, or he helped him. When Kane made it, he made it for other people to play. And then when one guy came along and played it, he then was of service to everyone, because he said, "Well, this isn't right. This kid's put so much effort into all this stuff. I'm going to go away and publicize it so that everybody can come along and play." So he did. So it's all about being of service to others. Then all the people who heard about it, they wanted to be there, not because they were going to get anything particularly out of it for themselves, but because they realized that it was important to be there to serve other people, to be part of a community, to send a signal to this boy, and and stuff like that. Rich, if you're still there, it's great to have you. And listen, we're going to be doing more of this format. So it's great that you were here, and yeah, George has been working like a trooper behind the scenes, and we're all grateful to him for that, and to all the people who've turned up tonight. This is terrific. So, okay, there's a few bits in the chat I'll pick up on later. Anyhow, be of service to others is an important element of it, and then towards the end, in not too much time, I'm going to give you a challenge, and I'm going to drop it now so that you start thinking about it. But I'm going to ask you, what can you do? What can you do to be of service to others? And I want you to think about it. Whom will you serve? How will you do it? Why will you do it? What's your motivation? But I'm just going to sit back for a moment. Ah, thanks, Isfan. I'm just going to sit back for a moment, because we've got a bunch of really clever, talented, passionate people in this room who do what they love, and I want to get their input. So I'm just going to sit back for a moment, guys, and for those of you that have seen the video, I'd like you to pick out your most important bit, or the bit you loved, that really had an impact on you and how it made you feel. And if you haven't seen it, perhaps you'd just like to talk about why it's important to be of service to others, or to do what you love. Okay? I want us all to see that we can have a multi-way chat in the TMN room, because it's so cool that we can do it. Is that okay with you guys? Yeah, just a free chat for 5 minutes or 10.
Works for me.
Brilliant. So being of service, or your favourite moment in the video, or whatever you want to talk about now.
Yeah, I like the part where he actually got into the boxes and put out the tickets when the filmmaker Vivian actually went there, and he
Not sure if we lost Wah there. Did we lose you, Wah?
Oh.
Not sure. We might have lost him.
He's having such a hard time.
The internet connection's playing up.
Yeah.
Andy, what was your favourite bit?
All of it. Where do I begin? First,
Andy was Skyping me while he was watching it. And I have a whole stream of comments going chronologically through the video when he was just going, "Oh my God!" Da, da, da.
I'd like to read back through those myself. Yeah, it was the depth of thought that the kid put into his endeavor was nothing short of outstanding. It's like you said earlier, Paul, it made you remind when you were younger, when you used to do the same things, and of course when you're an adult and still do the same things, which I hope everybody admits to. I know my desk is actually the inside of Airwolf. So, so yeah, the depth of thought that he put into there, using the calculators to figure out who got the right tickets and all of that, he's just sat and thought about exactly how he's going to pull that off. Not just for himself, for his own management of his own system, but so the customer feels like they're in a real arcade and getting the real arcade service and the real experience that he wanted to give out. I love that part. I thought that was marvelous.
Yeah, and I mean there were so many bits that blew me away. I'm just tracking back through our Skype chats to try and find it, and I'm not sure if I will, but when I do, I'll remind you about some of the things you said. Oh, here we go. Just found it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, that's pretty funny. You said, I won't read out any of the rude words, but you said 38 seconds in, and I want to make my own cardboard arcade.
Yeah.
Now that's got to be powerful stuff, hasn't it? The Fun Pass. Oh yeah, when you watch it, if you haven't seen it, the whole Fun Pass thing is so brilliant because it's such a brilliant thing that he did it. But then the little trick he does with the calculator, so you can work out if you've got. It was just, I was watching it and thinking, this kid, his heart is in the right place. When it got to those bits, I was thinking, his head is in the right place. He's really thinking, and that's fantastic. And I was really inspired, and I was thinking, this 9-year-old boy is doing this stuff. He's not worried about should he be doing it this way or not. He got cardboard and he made a universe. And that was really what was so wonderful about it. And it really did take me back to making dens when I was a kid, or commandeering the living room and getting the dining table and getting a big kind of tarpaulin or sheet or curtains over it and camping out there. And my mum coming in and saying, where are we going to have dinner? And I was going, well, I'm camping. We can't do it here. And then my parents kind of shifting and accommodating me, thankfully. Superb. And so the whole pin number thing that he does, Andy, you've talked about that too.
Yeah,
that was lovely.
Great. It's great. It's like I say, the whole depth of it, mate, of what he put in there. It blew my mind, and I thought about it afterwards, and I'm just now, since you're at the start of your show, connecting it to the love thing. And because he's 9 years old, I guess when you're 9 years old, you only know what you love. You don't really know anything else, do you? You chase what you love all the time. So he only knows that he's not going to be dissuaded, or his belief isn't going to be destroyed. And it's only when we get to adulthood and we become afflicted by the corporate environment that we tend to forget what we love. And yeah, I urge that everyone remember, basically.
My take on this is very much influenced by I saw a documentary on Channel 4 in the UK when I was about 13 or 14, and it was about Carl Jung, and it had a lot of quotes from Alice Miller and various other people talking about Jung and how even when he was like really old, like in his 80s or whatever, he was still playing and he was playful, and he justified it and said, I want to be playful till I die, and it's like the joy of life. It's a life force. And I remember watching it as a kid, thinking, I want to be like that when I'm older. I kind of tried to follow that path ever since, and it's one of the big influences on me. That being playful is a really important thing because it opens up so many doors, and it's such a joy, basically. They're going hell for leather in the TMN chat room. I can't keep up.
I can't see
great,
them.
guys.
What are they saying?
Oh, loads. People are talking about how they're old and they would have done, I don't know, it's going faster than I can talk. Talking about doing what you like and don't like, and talking about age, and is age important, and people are saying that they're young and they've got time to absorb knowledge and be happy, but Komodo wants to be able to afford to buy a house. JC says, what's love got to do with it? I will own my own house. Knowledge in itself doesn't help anyone. Applied knowledge is the key word. That's Istvan. JC says, my body is my home and house. Look after that first. Komodo says, when I got a large house all done up, I'm going to feel good because of the atmosphere and comfort. So they're all having a good discussion there. It's great, guys, that you're there and you're chatting, and it's kind of sparked off by what we're talking about here. Glennis, I can't not ask you, what does it mean if you're going to be of service to others? Okay, that's a really important thing, isn't it, in life? What does that mean to you, being of service to other people?
Well, actually, I have two kind of related responses to that. One is, and this one is going to be something that most people don't think of as being in service, but when you're in service to yourself, you're in service to others. So when you are taking care of your own business, when you are making sure that you are good and you are not Debbie Downer or Sally, oh my God, everything happens to me person, when you take care of your own happiness, when you maintain your own elevation, your own positive nature, when you elevate yourself and you approach life with childlike wonder, then when you're in service to yourself, you can be a support to everyone around you because you have resources now to do something with. A lot of our culture and a lot of the people that I see in New York are barely putting one foot in front of the other. And as a result of not taking care of themselves, they're actually a burden to everyone who knows them. So if you're happy, this is a very different take on being in service. And of course the service that we always think of is doing things for other people. The thing is if you can't take care of yourself and you're doing a soup kitchen, but your whole life is in a shambles around you, and you go for Sundays on a soup kitchen, that's nice. But your family and friends and the numerous people you touch every day in every way, you're not supporting the microcosm there of your own life. So microcosm, macrocosm, you have to start here. Now, people in our culture, because we started from puritanical roots, don't want to think about taking care of themselves. And I'm a goddess sometimes. And I believe that we have to do something called selfing. And selfing is where you take care of your own stuff. You really have to be aware of what your own ripples that you put out in the world are. And so I think to be in service, you have to take care of your own sort of microcosm first, and then you can share it out. And when you're feeling good and you're taking, like JC was talking about, taking care of his body and his home, and the other guy, Isfan, was talking, or no, Komodo was talking about having a house. All these people are talking about all the things that they think they need to do to support themselves and to make themselves feel good in their lives. It's part of their passion, part of what they want to accomplish. Those are good things. And if they make you powerful in your world and they make it so that your set is good and you're strong, then you can share it out. Because when you're happy, the people who love you are happy. And when they're happy, it goes out and out and out, like a pebble in the wood, in a pond. Oh, and yes, we see Wa. So, yeah, that's my answer. And so then, of course, then you take it out and you do things with the energy that you have, and those people, you're able to organize them because everybody's happy and has resources. They have, have the attitude to actually go and do. Because most people are exhausted. If they're playing victim, if they're having the victim mentality, they don't have the energy to go do anything. They can barely watch TV. But when you're loving and you're doing childlike wonder, you have energy to go out and pick up, go straight in the woods. Go straight in the woods. Who ever heard of such a thing? Is there messy woods? Men, when they're happy, they go out and they neaten in the woods. They go wood neatening. And you go out there and you pick around in the broken woods and stuff, and you pick stuff up and you make stacks of wood. You can bring those in the fall, and then you have wood for your fireplace. And I bet you, Paul, you're laughing because you probably do wood straightening, don't you? I knew it! You're out neating the wood. Well. Because you're passionate. Yeah, of course. Okay, so there you go. I got it. Truth be told, you're a wood straightener.
My secret is out. That's great, Liz. I mean, I would say you can't give from an empty pocket. And this was something I learned a long time ago when I would burn myself out, kind of the way that you were saying, and I would focus on what I was doing for other people, and I wasn't taking care of myself. And I still do that every now and again. That's a tendency of mine, to not focus on myself enough. Komodo said a little while ago, it's enough talk about houses. But I think it's important, how we look after ourselves is an important element in our ability to then take care of others, to serve others. So it's all about service to ourselves and others. And I appreciate that, Glennis, that you've opened it up to include myself as well as other people. Now, Scott, you were talking earlier about what you were doing, and that sounded fantastic. And I wanted to talk more about it then, and I was just moving on swiftly because I didn't know whether I'd cover all my stuff. But basically, what you're saying is that you work from home, and that enable you. I mean, you love it, and then it means that other things can happen too, because you're doing what you love. Everything's kind of falling into place. Is that right?
That's right. You know, I get to like allocate my time so that you know, if there are things that have to be done, I can take care of those, but on my schedule. You know, and Glenn's again hit it like right on the head. If I'm happy, then my wife is happy. The dogs are happy. Everybody is happy. If something's going wrong, I'm in a foul mood, then that whole ripple effect kicks in, and it's just it's negative for everybody. And there have been times where I have been down, and thankfully my wife was there and was tolerant through it. But for right now, it's you know, I am just like kicking my heels up almost every day and having a ball. And you know, in being on, I think about, you know, what I do on my shows, and it's I'm not that long in internet marketing, but I'm already going out and teaching people about here's kind of what I have learned, and you know, you got to try some of this stuff, and here's perhaps a way to do it if people are interested. And so far, you know, I'm getting good feedback. People like what I'm saying, though I don't try to put myself off as an expert in that, but I just love doing it. And I've got people that I Skype with, and like I'm not giving them mentoring advice, and I just think that's so weird because, yeah, I've been in business for a long time, but you know, not in this niche, but you know, people are like asking me questions, and it's like, who am I to answer these questions? But yeah, I get a lot of joy out of it because I learn by answering the questions and teaching other people. And Paul, I think you said earlier you thought you were you didn't like what you do, but you're teaching other people, and it's just amazing that you can share what you have, and you're having an impact on so many people that you know, they're going to remember you 30 or 40 years down the line. Something you did or said. Yeah, well, let's hope.
Yeah, for the right reasons, Paul. Not like my teachers who used to beat the kids.
I have a game with the kids where I say that I hit them on the head with like I have sheets of paper in my hand, and I would, you know, just kind of make a noise, and then they look at me and go, "You can't do that," and I say, "I can, as long as there's no more than 6 sheets of paper in the sheet, I can." And they always look at me like, "Oh," and I'm just waiting for the day when one of them says, "What?" But they never do. So I always get them on the head, you know, "Wait, you pay attention," and they never challenge it. I always say, "No, I'm allowed to, as long as there's no more than 6 sheets of paper." And when one kid tried to grab them off me one time and count them, and that was hilarious. And but I love to be playful in the classroom. I think it's such an important element. And you know, the times when I'm not, I really notice it. You know, if the kids are giving me a hard time, and they often, you know, will try to, because there are a lot of challenges for them. You know, I teach a whole range of kids from special ed all the way up, and you know, they're a joy. They're a total joy, and it's just the admin side of teaching that is awful. And I mean, just being here now, the whole energy of doing TMN is changing, folks, because now we have a bunch of people in the room that we can talk to and ask, and you know, stuff like that. And they've been so gracious to be here, and I'm really honoured to have everybody here with me, because it's such a different feeling now. I'm getting a buzz. I mean, I get a buzz out of the people chatting in the chat, and it's a whole new dimension now that there are people here live that I'm able to talk to, and they can share their stuff, and we're doing it together, which is fantastic. I'm really I'm just so fired up by that. It's fantastic. I'm getting a real buzz out of just being here doing this. The challenge, we got 3 minutes till the hour, and who knows, this is the playful element. We don't know if Wa is going to be here on time, or if technology gods are going to conspire to keep him from us. And if they do keep him from us, then the game is, can we guess what he was going to be talking about? But this is my challenge. What have you done? I want you to just stop and think for a second. What have you done recently that you could remember? Go right back if you need to. to be of service, either to yourself. So when did you carve out any me time and do justice to yourself and honor yourself? When was the last time you did that? And it could be anything. You might have just made yourself a little treat that you like, not because you felt a compulsion or a lust for it, but because you really actually wanted to make something special for yourself. So it wasn't that you raided the fridge and you got out all the ice cream or whatever and scoffed it. It was that you thought it'd be really nice if, and then you took the time and you carved out a space in your schedule and you just did something that you love. Okay? When was the last time you did that?
This afternoon.
And then, yay, fantastic.
Yeah,
I did a bit of it today.
I had a lot of things that I needed to do today, but I decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to sit down and read. And it was just nice, kicking back, reading the book, and not worrying about it. You know, I just decided, hey, whatever it is I had to do, I can make up later. But I needed the breathing space for me, so that was kind of my treat.
Cool. I took my son out in the dark on my shoulders. He's heavy. He's not small anymore. He's 4 years old, but he's a big 4. And I dressed him up, made sure he was warm, and I stuck him on my shoulders and put on the head torch. And we went out into the fields and the woods after dark and saw what we could see. And we saw people doing stuff. We saw, people in their houses. We heard animals in the woods. We looked up in the sky and we saw Jupiter and various different things.
I want to do that. Can I get on your shoulders, Paul?
You have to watch him though when he goes through low door frames. Andy, I'm just saying, I saw it myself. And he forgets how tall you are up there. I saw it in a castle once.
I just say to him, duck down, and then he knows.
Yeah, after the fact.
I've left him behind. But that was my thing today, and I nearly didn't take him. I nearly didn't do it because I thought, it's so late, and if Judy was here, she'd be on my case saying, he's got to get to bed, he's got a big day tomorrow, and I just thought, what the heck, and I just said to him, hey, do you want to go out and see what's out there? So he said, yeah, and so now he's got a whole new set of inputs to play with. He's asking me all sorts of questions when it was bedtime. Daddy, what was that noise in the woods, and all this stuff, and it's great. And so that was my little moment that I did. And my challenge is, and I don't know, unless Wire's going to take his time, I'm not sure if I have time to. David McNeil in the room says, I always take time each day to play my guitar. That's fantastic, David. I don't have a guitar at the moment. I gave mine away years ago, but to someone who was really good, and I kind of got a hankering after guitar now. Scott's stepping away to reveal a guitar on the wall. But my challenge to you all. Look at this.
Oh, he's got a bass.
Ooh.
Nice.
I'm not gonna play it.
Next time.
Oh,
Scott.
well, okay.
Next time.
So you show us the thing and then you leave?
You show a musician your bass guitar and then you leave.
Oh my God! This is.
He's just messing with us.
Yeah.
It's the teaser trailer for next time. My challenge is this, and it's pretty brief. What are you going to do to be of service? Now, it could be for you, or it could be for someone else. It doesn't matter, but it's a wake-up call. It's time you did something for somebody else or for you, but it's time you did something. You need a reminder, okay? Why am I confident in saying that? Because we all need a reminder from time to time, don't we? So if you didn't need a reminder today, save it up for tomorrow or the next day or whenever it is that you need it, and take the time to be of service. So either if that's for you, as Glennis reminded me, I should include us, myself in this, or for others, it doesn't matter. But what are you going to do? Whom are you going to serve? How are you going to do it? What are you going to do? Have a think about it. And maybe for some of us, it's a way of changing the way we're thinking, because we're caught up in all the tiny bits that give us trouble and strife, and we need to just step back out of that and say, you know what? I'm just going to do something for myself. And once I've charged up my batteries and filled up my pockets, then I can give to other people. So, if you want to turn yourself into a giver, which is great, charge yourself up, okay? So what are you going to do that, and then what are you going to do for someone else? Depends on each person's definition of what it means to live well, says Komodo. They're talking about, well, Komodo, then your definition is fine by me, whatever that means, okay? So, that's the thing. Wherever you're at, that's where you're at.
Yep, exactly. Exactly.
Okay. Well, look, I've run into Wa's time, but Wa is kind of, I don't know. I can see a blank screen. So is he here?
Wa?
It shows him online, but
yeah.
He's left a message.
Anyway, guys.
Yeah.
While we try and find him, where's Wa? Which is kind of like where's. Do you have
Where's
Waldo
Wally?
or Wally? We have where's Wally, and you have where's Waldo, I think, in the States.
Well,
but
no,
where's Wa?
Where's Wa?
What we're going to have tonight. Hiya, Georgianne. Nice to see you. So we just made a little bit of history. We just had a, 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 people, sometimes 5, and George was in the room too, because he's controlling the streaming. He is the stream master, with Yoda-like skills, and you know what I'm talking about. And we just made a little bit of history. We've done this kind of multiplex chat in the room, and you've all been here in the TMN room watching it. Some people have even watched it on YouTube, and it's been streamed out to a bunch of different places. It's in the Google Hangout. I feel overwhelmed by technology. It's fantastic. Now we're gonna hang loose for a bit.
Wait,
if we
I just
hear
heard
from
Wa.
Oh, what?
And he said, he said he's struggling, and he asked us to please keep going until, and just keep going until he can get on. His internet connection is just not working out for him. So we can keep going on. Sorry. Would you mind continuing?
How can you ever shut me up?
I just thought of something, Going back to your playfulness topic from earlier on there, Paul. Everyone knows what Google's office look like, don't they? Can we say Google? Are we allowed to say Google? Everyone knows what Google's office looks like. It's all very playful with firemen's poles to slide down instead of elevators and stuff.
Is that what they are?
Something
I
like
thought
that,
they were for pole dancing.
Yeah, me too.
I really did. That's
She wear a headset.
exercise. I thought they were for pole dancing. Really? They're just
Perception is a
for
wonderful thing, isn't it?
Sorry.
I remember when Toy Story 1 came out, I remember watching a documentary of Pixar's offices, and they were very, very similar. The whole ethos was, be the 9-year-old, play, and you'll get better results. And I just wanted to throw that in there.
And you've seen that film Big, haven't you?
Oh,
The Tom Hanks film?
Yeah, great.
Yeah? Guys, you all seen that film with Tom Hanks, Big, where he basically gets to be a big kid? And every time I watch it, and this is the thing. This is like my tearful night, obviously. But that's one of the films that really gets me. It makes me choke up, and I don't know why. And I guess there is something in me that is screaming out to be more playful and to do stuff and to free up. And when I watch films like that and Kane's Arcade, there's this powerful thing rising up in me that that says, come on, you got to do it. So, but Big is just amazing. I love that. Yeah. Oh, Andy, I mean,
childlike wonder is an awesome thing because that's where you create from, and that's where you break pattern from. So if for people, we were talking before about what you've done in the past, and what you can create from that, and you can allow yourself to have fun. You can allow yourself to share and give, and a lot of people can't even conceive of what that would be. I taught a Tai Chi seminar one day, and I was having this little exercise, and I had little words that people were going. I was going, give, and then bring energy in, receive, give, and everybody was going, give, and then receive, give, and I said, wait. I said, how come give's so loud and receive is like a dirty secret? I mean, like, why are we whispering receive? I said, I didn't teach it to you like that. I said, give and receive, and they didn't even realize subconsciously that value giving more than receiving. And so one of the things that Childlike Wonder helps you do is that you get to play with you, because you are a wonderful playmate. We've forgotten how to play with ourselves. I mean, oh, I didn't mean it that way. You know what I mean. Darn, George, sorry.
Lonnie and human.
We said we wouldn't be that playful.
You know, sorry. Oh, God. Yeah, it's just typical. Anyway, so
No, I know where you're at.
things haven't changed since I was a little girl, and they're not gonna. But you know, so what I mean is that we have to enjoy and find humor in ourselves, and allow for that. You know, just because we're grown up doesn't mean we have to be grown up. You know, you can still play, you can do your responsibilities, but you can still be fun. I love the idea of you taking the walk in the woods, and you know, I mean, that was a great thing. And you know, for me, what I do is, like, I decide I'm just going to cook a bunch of stuff on a day and photograph it when that's not what I plan to do, but now I'm doing that instead, and I'm having a good time, and I'll make ends meet, you know, somewhere else. I'll, you know, sort of rob Peter to pay Paul to do what I'm supposed to be doing instead of what I was doing, which was something I wanted to do. And it wasn't planned, and that's okay, and that's so good. And when I was a little girl, I did the same thing. Let's have a tea party. So anyway, sorry.
No, but that's great. I mean, I think these things which are our kind of guilty pleasures are they need more airtime, you know, because I think people don't really realize. You know, we just don't know what people do, what they get up to. I have a friend, and she she does this thing, and when she told me, I stopped walking. I was so stunned by what she told me. But ever since she told me that, I've been thinking, you know, that's not such a bad idea. Because I do a lot of physical work outside, and I get cracked fingers sometimes. Her big thing is, when she wants to have some me time, she gets some, like, washing up gloves, and she fills them with Vaseline or hand cream or something like that, and just puts her hands in and just enjoys the sensation while she watches TV of, you know, her hands being, you know, coaxed, treated, whatever. And she says, it's amazing. And she even said to me, you should try it. And then she went, oh, you know, like, oh, what have I done? As it, because obviously the look on my face was. But I've said to her ever since then, do you know what? That's not such a bad idea. But you know what? The other day, and then it's confession time. The other day I went to go and try it, and I had the stuff to put in the gloves and everything. I thought, Judy's away. No one's going to take the mickey out of me. You know, there's no ridicule possible. Frankie's asleep. I'll try it. We don't have a pair of gloves in the house big enough for my hands. So I've got to go out and buy a pair so that I can do this now. So anyway, so my spontaneity kind of got a bit stymied. But,
can I give you a helpful hint from Heloise? All you have to do is just use a baggie or saran wrap. And I do it too. What is it? Only women know how to do this? What is this?
I don't know. I'd quite happily climb into a plastic bag full of Vaseline and roll around for an hour. Sounds good to me.
You do your hands and your feet while you're doing it. And when you do your feet, put really heavy wool socks on over the baggie so they stay nice and warm. Because if they're warm, then, and the same thing with that, you put your hand in the bag, you put goo all over your hands. And I use hand cream, like, you know, not Vaseline, because Vaseline is a petroleum product. You know me, I'm kind of, but, you know, use something natural, like coconut oil or something nice and lovely and smelly maybe, and then put your hand in the baggie or the saran wrap and put on a mitten. Or even oven gloves, something to keep your hand warm. And then wear those while you're watching. You'll be a total star. Wait till your son wakes up, and you're sitting there with baggies on your feet and oven mitts on your hands. With you'll look like a giant lobster sitting there.
Do you know what? I bet he would not even notice. He'd come in and he'd say something to me, and I'd be there going, uh-oh, and he would just go back to bed, and he wouldn't even notice.
Hi guys, I think I might have voice, but yeah, this sounds good. So
you come at the right moment.
Loud and clear.
Go ahead. Hello.
I can't see you, War. You're not in a bag of Vaseline, are you?
No,
I was just going to say that. It sounds
Just his camera.
a pretty good place to be, doesn't it?
Can I just say that Paul brought it up? I just finished it. I didn't start it.
Yeah.
I just didn't start it.
Hey, Komodo, nice to see you, and thanks for being here, and see you again. Okay, so I know you got to go. We had 28 people in YouTube about 10 minutes ago, so that's great. Considering this is the first time we tried it out, so that's terrific. Wow, when you want to take over, just tell me, mate.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, I think because I'm going to be intermittent, it's probably better to continue the conversation as it is. And I think what I was going to talk about today was you've got to mind your mind and be on positive thinking, because a lot of people just turn around and think, if you think positively and, think happiness and think these things, they're actually just going to happen, or, like the law of attraction, which...
Yeah, I'm waiting for that Ferrari one.
That's it, yeah. If you're going to think that you're going to win the lottery, you're going to win the lottery, but it's sometimes, these are the things that, just the thought process just doesn't make it happen. Obviously, with the law of attraction as well, that went on to another level after just positive thinking. So there were some of the things that I was going to talk about today, but I mean, to be truthful, my internet connection is so intermittent today that I'm going to struggle. It's like now I've just got a message now from the room saying unresponsive, so I'm not sure if you can hear me or not.
I can still hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so as I say, I don't know. Okay, I do apologise purely because...
Wow, don't apologise, mate. George Hans just said this is very cool, with capital letters for the very. So, we're doing something special tonight, so I don't think you have to apologise. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, I can hear you fine on both headphones.
Okay, well, well done. So, as I say, I don't know now.
Your glasses?
I'm getting okay. No worries. I mean, I think we'll refine this fantastic for next week. And it's fantastic the way that you guys talked about it, because some of the things that I wanted to talk about this evening was, as I said, mind your mind, and the advancements of positive thinking, and what the power of thought is, and that type of thing. So like you guys have had that conversation, and you've kind of remembered certain events in your life. And you have a connection between that thought and that event. So it was either a happy event, or it was a sad event, or it was a challenge, or it was something that you overcame. So that's how thoughts, the power of thought, influences all of us as people. And some of the things I wanted to actually talk about was like the behavior and the attitude and the consequences of the action that does that, because I wanted to separate positive thinking to what really actually happens in the mechanics of the mind and the mechanics of thought. So they were some of the things that I wanted to talk about. Now, I don't think that I probably want to go into such a subject today, purely because my internet's going to be intermittent, and the way the conversations going, because I'd rather keep it as a flow. So what I'd do is just put it out to to all of you here and say, what is the connection between thought and action? So, you know, I'm going to ask, you know, some of you guys to chip in. And because next week what I'll probably do is just, you know, I'll just go through some of the things that I wanted to talk about, but I daren't today just in case I lose connection again. So, you know, what do you guys think about that? You know, how do you feel about how to connect with, you know, your thoughts and your actions?
That's a big question.
That's a huge question, Wah. You know, the way. Is it okay? Can I just? One of the things about thought that really, and I really believe this, and it's actually part of neuroscience, is that when the way you're being, which is how you think, arrives at the same time as the way your world occurs for you, and I talked about this earlier, and the actions you take, they all come together at the same time. So now we like to think that we can control our thoughts, but there's this running track, and if you're quiet, like just everybody really just sit for a second and not talk, and I'm going to shut up too, there is a track in your head that never shuts up. And is that a thought? Or is it just this running track? There's like a difference between a thought and this track that happens. And a lot of people don't know the difference of the track, the noise, that self-talk that happens, and an actual thought, a creative thought. They're two different processes that are happening in the brain. And they're documenting this in neuroscience now. It's kind of an interesting thing. But that track, everybody has it and it never stops. Everybody has it, and it keeps you from doing a lot of things. Keeps you kind of self-entertained, you know, kind of if you don't want to pay attention, you can like listen to that track. And, you know, oh, should I do this? Should I do that? And I'm going to worry about this. Am I going to think about that? You know, this person said this to me yesterday, and that was going on. So just for a second, in stillness here, listen for that track. You can hear it. Okay, so like what kinds of things did you hear?
Well, that's it. As you say, you know, we all hear it, and you know, we think that's our thought, but that's just the clatter that's going in our minds, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, I heard A Broom Full of Asher by Corner Shop.
You heard what?
I remember that. Oh, it's a song.
The song started playing in my brain.
My self-talk was all about what shall I eat, and am I going to stay up all night? Weird stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all, and a lot of times it's unrelated. It has nothing. And a lot of times it has nothing to do with this moment right now at all. Scott, what was yours?
Well, I was actually it wasn't a creative thought, but I was like pondering how I'm going to rotate these Great Danes that I'm fostering right now. You know, one at a time out so they can go to the bathroom. I'm not going to let them both out at once and let them disrupt the show. They had a good time with my show last night, and the coyotes that were outside.
Nice. So we're all having really interesting, unrelated. Mine was, I think I'm going to have to blow my nose soon, and I don't know when I'm going to do that because I'm on camera, and what am I going to do? Because I still have this head cold, and so I was like, I'm obsessing about that. Because that's an immediate thing because I'm starting not to be able to breathe. So I'm like, oh, I'm having trouble breathing. So so we're all having our interesting little things. Now that's not creative thought. I'm certainly not going to do anything really wonderful with that. Or is it life-changing unless I can't breathe at all, and then, you know, then I'm in trouble. But so that chatter, that clutter, that's a different thing, and everybody has it. So when you're thinking about thoughts, there's the ones that you actually create, where you actually are thinking. But a lot of people don't differentiate between the two. So this is the distinction that now has to happen. So pardon. Anyway, so go ahead, Wah. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries, guys. I mean, I just put that question out there to you, you know, to be able to think about that. because in whatever we do, obviously different people listening to this on obviously TMN and on YouTube and Twitter and all the other places. It's that's the kind of thing I wanted to talk about, because that's the kind of thing I'm into, is how do a lot of us think that our minds influence us, but how do we influence our minds? That's the kind of things that I want to do and talk about, because I want to influence my mind. I want to be a greater mind. I wanted to be able to think and to be only actually do the actions that are going to benefit me in life. And I don't mean monetary or that, but I want to live a happy and sustainable life. So one of the parts that I've explored in being able to do that is to be actually to try and control my thoughts. So because I actually realised that that clatter or them thoughts have an influence in a behavioural pattern and an attitude, which then constantly affect people around us and what we do and how we do it. So there was some of the things that I wanted to do, because we actually see ourselves in our minds. And yes, of course, we have cause and reaction with how other people think of us or perceive of us. And I know lots of us have different friends, and we have a different social structures, whether they be business, personal, relationships, all the rest of it. And all them people see us differently. And one of the things that is why is that? Is that because our thoughts are different when we're around them people, or are their thoughts different? Because in the book As a Man Thinketh, which I can probably send you a download link for, it's in the public domain and things like that, is them old books, from I think they're from the 30s and things, were some of the things that I've kind of read and actually thought, well, hang on, if I think like this, then that will be. But it doesn't necessarily definitely happen, though there's got to be that energy charge that you put out there, but by just your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
Yeah, go on, guys.
Sorry, mate. There's been quite a bit of chat in the room that about what you've been talking about. When is it all right to just read some of that out?
Yes, please. Because what I've done is I've actually turned every single computer off in the house and just got. I'm just here, so I think I'm a blank screen. David
O'Neill's been chatting away, and I've been feeling really guilty that he's been chatting there and I've not been saying anything. He said, if the law of attraction is real, I must be thinking a lot about dust bunnies, because they seem to be propagating around here. But then he said, you can stop self-talk and calm the mind. And he says, I can stop self-talk. Most brain activity does not become conscious as we normally think of as thought. And then he said, in response to your latest comments, you cannot help influence your own mind. Or do you mean you cannot? David, did you mean cannot help influence? Yeah, you can. You can't not help influence your own mind. You are a loop. Was what he was saying. Yeah.
I mean, that was some of the things that I wanted to. I was going to talk about today, purely because. It is a self loop. You become you are your thoughts, and who thinks them thoughts? Is it is it the mind? Is it the gut? Is it what actually, or is it the universal consciousness? Now, I don't want to go into woo-woo part, because basically what I was going to do today with my presentation or chat or whatever was actually talk about some of them things, and why just positive thinking or self-talk doesn't necessarily just work. But and that's why it was above the power of of positive thought or positive thinking. But there's the
Bond has been dropping in and out of the room, Bond Halbert, and one of the things, every time his name pops up, I keep thinking about what you're saying, and I keep thinking about copywriters, and I think a lot of the people in the TMN room, and maybe a couple of other people too, are sort of familiar with the concept of when you write something and you're trying to persuade somebody else about something, yeah? So we all understand that if we go to say a sales page or we get a sales brochure, the copy that's been written is there to talk us into something or persuade us, and it's trying to tap into things that we believe or think, or all that kind of thing. And we always tend to think about that as someone trying to persuade someone else. And there's a lot of people in the room talking about how it takes effort to do what you're saying. You have to decide to control thoughts. And I just got thinking about, if you did something this simple, would it work? If you thought about it like a copywriter thinks about it. Oh, did we lose Wah?
Yeah, it looks like, yeah.
Anyway, well, I'll throw it out to anyone then. That's a shame. But if it was, if you thought about it like a copywriter thinks about trying to persuade someone else, but you tried to influence yourself by using emotion or calls to action, or all the kind of stuff that in marketing people use. How do you? I suppose it boils down to, how do you try and take control of your own thoughts? Where do you put your effort? Anyone know?
Yeah, I think I do, because this is what I teach in my site, perfectdayeveryday.com. Unabashedly plugged there. The thing that I find that works with people the best as an entry-level way for someone who doesn't meditate and who doesn't have practices like David O'Neill was talking about, because you can quiet your mind in meditation. You can totally quiet your mind. But if you don't have any access to that, and you can't meditate, or you don't know how to, or have decided you can't, don't have the time, whatever, the biggest place you can make a huge impact on how you are, what your thoughts are, is to control the way you're being. And the way you're being can be managed by you deciding to filter the stimuli that come in your life by a way of actually addressing it. So if you're in your life, if you decide, like my ways of being that I've picked for myself is courage, power, compassion, passion, and loving. Those are my 5 most popular ones. I have many, but those are the 5 sort of basic ones. So as a stimuli,
again?
Courage, power, compassion, passion, and loving. If you can't remember any of them, or most of them, or you can't even pick one because you don't know, then I'm going to pick one for everybody listening. And the one that you can use to filter everything, if you remember nothing else about what we're saying here, is if you remember loving. If you use loving as a filter for the stimuli that comes into your being, you will pretty much be guaranteed no missteps. Now, so what will happen? Like something happens, and you start to go, whoop, I'm out there, I'm scared, I'm this, I'm that, I'm a victim, this happened to me, this thing is going on in my life. If you can say, now my filter is loving. What's the loving response? If you can just do that one thing, you don't have to be like, so in this situation I do this, and in that situation I do that. If you filter whatever happens to you with a loving response, you are guaranteed no missteps. And loving even works for courage and power, because when you're doing a loving response, it's loving for you. It's also loving for whoever else is involved. And you're looking out for both sides of the coin. Everybody wins. Everybody wins. And so you don't have to remember, in this situation I do this, and in that situation I do that, and I can't think this, and I got to think that. You don't have to remember any of that. Something happens. What's the loving response? That's the only thing you have to remember. And as soon as you change the way you're being, because that's the way you're being, you're going to be being loving, then it changes how the world occurs for you. And if the world occurs for you from a loving position, it's rose-colored glasses, and I know we talk about that as being a weakness, but it's a wonderful place to live. Scott lives there. You live there. Children live there. I know Andy lives there. And
I live
Rob
there.
lives there. Huh?
I live there.
I know you do. I know you do. So, yeah, Andy lives there. And so, like, all the people at the bottom of the screen right here, we all live there. And you want to stay there as much as possible, because that's where the fun is. So, yeah, loving response. What is the loving response? That's how you control your mind, because you filter the way you're being, and so you're not trying to wrestle thoughts. Thoughts run.
David said, what does it mean to control your thoughts?
What does it mean? I don't know. We should ask Martin Seligman of the Positive Psychology Department at University of Pennsylvania, but I'll tell you what, he only studies aberrant behavior, but I would love to hear. I have no idea. I left my PhD in my other pants. I'm so sorry.
I find the whole idea about controlling my thoughts is just a fascinating thing. Here's Bond. Hey, Bond.
Hey, hold on, I got like 3 feeds coming in at the moment. Just a second. Wow, this is insane.
Cool. It's good to have you.
Oh, thank you. This is the cool technology.
Yeah, too right. I was just thinking about, you kept popping up, your name kept popping up in the TMN room, and I kept thinking, I wonder if you could influence yourself by doing a kind of copywriting thing on yourself, and persuade yourself, talk yourself into something. And it's probably a really stupid thought, but
I think everybody, whether you're a copywriter or not, no matter how good you are at marketing, you end up always justifying your own purchases. You know, I mean, you want to go, I mean, the truth is, we look at all the things that we need in life, and, we turn around and say, well, this is why I want to blow my money on this, and this is why I want to blow my money on that. And, a lot of the times when you're writing copy, one of the tricks is you got to give these people an excuse. And you also give them a bragging right so that they can go back to their friends and say, well, I bought Paul's stuff because, he's an expert, and he's done, this guy's written 6 books, and he knows everything. You're giving them justification a lot of the times for doing it, and copywriters are no different from anybody else. Everybody does it. I mean, if you look around at the stuff you have in your house, how much of it do you actually really need? You know what I mean? But, I think what was more important that Wal was getting onto is your frame of mind is really important as a copywriter to get into the frame to write copy. Because great copy can't be written by a formula. You know what I'm saying? You can do a really good job with a formula and an outline and stuff like that. But if you're going to write copy, you have to control when you're in a good mood. Think about it. It's like, because it's like creativity on demand is for a copywriter. You've got 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or whatever. You have to come up with that big idea. You have to come up with that hook, that offer, that solution. You have to, at some point, be in a good frame of mind to write. So what you end up having to do is understand your brain pretty well, and you start to understand that there are modes that you're just not good. So most copywriters have this little space in the day or in the week for which they can pretty much, they get into a routine so that they can rely on that space to be in a relatively creative and good mood. But I'm just, I was just throwing that out there. But I didn't mean to take this over. Go ahead. This is cool.
No, that's great. I mean, that's the kind of thing I was thinking. What you've kind of touched on there is sort of controlling your environment, controlling your inner space as well, but then talking about habit and self-awareness of habit, all that sort of stuff. I just wanted to say before we move on, Georgianne said, Glennis, has anyone told you how amazing you are today? So
isn't she sweet?
I'll second that. It's an interesting thing. Why drop the bomb on us, and then unfortunately technology. Yeah.
So you'll never know the secret. But
it's
funny?
Question.
I was sorry. Glennis will understand this. The outside world and your interior world are interrelated. Outside stimuli and things that people say to you can affect your brain forever, but the same thing works in the reverse. So, I was explaining to somebody that every week I have this routine, and I inherited this kind of habit from my dad, who explained to me that you recreate outside what you carry around inside. So if you have messy thoughts in a head, you'll have a messy brain and a messy desk. So what happens is it works in reverse. If you start cleaning up your desk, you will start organizing your thoughts in your head. And so if you have a practice of once a week actually, organizing and cleaning up something, it helps to organize and clean your thoughts out, And I make a practice, I have a special day where I set up all my, what I do is I try and do all the things I say, man, if I did more of that, I'd be in a more even keel. And I try and stop on that day doing the things where I say, well, I really need to stop doing this so much. Like I don't check my email. But it's very personalized to adjust for all the crap that I do during the week. But the point that I'm making is, there's all kinds, everybody's got their own tricks and their own techniques. Like, for one thing, I measure how well my brain is working by actually doing Sudoku puzzles. Because if I can do an evil Sudoku puzzle really fast, I know it's working pretty smoothly. If I'm chugging along and it takes me forever to do it, I know that what I'm going to lay down that day is definitely probably not going to be my best work. And it won't stop me. I don't want to get wrong. It's just that these zones when you're on fire. And that's the one thing about copywriting that's really hard is Friday night will come along and you're ready to relax and gel out, and all of a sudden your brain lights up and you get an idea after idea after idea, and you're like, yeah, I know what to do with this project, I know what to do with that project, and you have to now forego dinner at Friday night and sit down and write down all your ideas or get whatever your copy is out before you forget it all. But anyway, I think meditation, I think knowing when your brain's in a good mood, understanding that it's got to be in a bad mood. You just physically can't walk around being in a good mood forever. It's just not possible. I don't care how, Mary Poppins you think your life is. I mean, I've seen people, it's like they're all of a sudden making a ton of money, they got lots of health and everything, and they're in a bad mood. Why? Because you don't know what a good mood is without the bad. So, but the point is, it's just accepting that and knowing when to tap into it, when it's a good, being able to measure it and know when not to tap into it, and, when it's unreliable and stuff like that. And so, I mean, I think everything Glennis is saying, and, I think what a lot of people say on the ideas of controlling your mood and where your brain's at works, because it works well for them, and what works for one person will work for a lot of people, not necessarily all people. But, I can't imagine taking the time out and doing meditation harming or not working for somebody. And I can't imagine, understanding the rhythm of your brain and, and the rhythm of your week and everything doesn't help you.
Yeah, that's so right on. He's like, you are like snap for Taoism and all the stuff I teach. you have to come on and do a little, because that's so perfect, because he just talked about, like, if I was self-promoting, he just did feng shui, meditation, time management, clutter management, inside your brain, outside your brain, the way of being in relationship with it, recognizing when the butterflies are working and when they're not. I mean, that was perfect in like one little thing. Great, perfect. I agree, totally. It's all on my site.
Okay, go right ahead.
That's why Bond makes the big bucks.
That's why. Yeah, and I should have oh, this is taped. Good, because I can use it.
Okay, good.
Can I use it? It was so beautifully done. That's just perfect.
Yeah, you can use it.
Oh, thank you.
No, the best two compliments I get are, "Can I use this?" and "I'm going to steal that."
Oh,
And I get, "I'm going to steal that" more than "Can I use that?"
Well, I mean, you basically hit on the high points of like what it is to, if you want to create movement in your life when you're stuck. And a lot of people they know they're stuck. They know they're stuck. They know there's a rock in the road. They may not even know what the rock is. But you know what? I always tell people, when you're stuck, go clean a closet. It's an amazing logjam breaker. Clean your desk, pick a space, clean something. Neaten that, and like you just said, it straightens out your whole brain, because you can't be on fire 100% of the time. So when you get stuck or the machine's starting to grind to a halt, go clean something. It's an amazing thing, because the energy in your house is stuck, or your office, because it all comes down to frequency and vibration, which is, you know, quantum physics and stuff, but it really works. It sounds woo-woo, but it really
But you know what a lot of people do? A lot of people, let's just take internet marketers for a moment, because there's a whole bunch of them around here, but we all know the whole thing about, you know, people get stuck and they're not achieving what they want to achieve, and they're not earning what they want to earn, and they're not where they want to be, and so they're stuck and they need to make changes. And instead of doing, you know, instead of being minimalist or having a minimal day or going to clean the closet and stuff like that, they find themselves vulnerable to good copywriting, sorry, Bon, and they get tempted into buying something. They spend money on something that says it's going to be a quick fix, but actually nothing has changed. And, you know, so people are buying something that they don't need, that won't help them, when actually the simple solution to a lot of internet marketers not making it would be that they don't clean their closet often enough, that they don't, you know, take a walk or get up and move about, or, you know, just simple stuff to shift the energy and to actually become clearer and more productive.
Right, because one of the main things is that when you're doing that quick fix stuff, you're making a change, and change is built on something that's already busted. So you're framing your fix on a broken leg, and it's not going to support. I mean, you can build all the structure you want on it, but you're changing something that you're keeping alive by changing it. So it means that the thing that's not working is still very much in presence there. Now, if you create, that's a different thing, because now you have to start from a clean slate, and it's a very different frame. So that's why cleaning works. Isn't that a funny thing? Cleaning a closet, cleaning your desk, neaten your papers, you know, go fix up the desktop on your computer, you know, get all that crap off there. You don't even know what it is anymore. You know, mess with your hard drive. You know, something that will make it more organized, will change the energetics of it and create a way for you to build something fresh and new and clean and sturdy to move forward with. But if you take the broken thing and you're trying to put a doily on it, it's not going to work.
Makes sense, doesn't it? You can't heal a wound by using the same knife that carved it.
Well, and like, you know, like Paul was saying, if you find yourself going off and buying the next bright shiny object because you're stuck with where you're at, you're just digging a hole deeper. You're not constructing anything or making any headway. You just really are making it worse. It was one of the things that I kind of came to today, is where it's like, hey, I just need to get up and go read. And clear, it was cleaning my mind, I think, more than anything else. And I came away from that with, you know, much more refreshed and thinking that maybe I could achieve some things.
Yeah.
Hey, David. Nice to see you.
Oh, hi.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing very well. I found it interesting earlier, and this is why I asked the question about controlling your thoughts. There's this idea that was brought up many, many years ago about something called a homunculi. You might have to go reach into your PhD and your other pair of pants to remember it.
Sorry. You're right. I have no idea what that is.
The idea was that there's somebody inside your head supposedly controlling you, but there's this idea also of infinite regress. Who's inside the head of the person that's inside the head of the person that's inside the head of you, etc. So the real basic question is, who do you think you're controlling if you think you're controlling your thoughts?
Where are your thoughts? Are they in your head?
I know, honestly, maybe this is just me being blonde. I don't know. I don't even try. I just flow. But I have like a plan. I have a goal, and I have my way of being, and I have the way the world occurs for me. And on the whole, it keeps me out of trouble, and things are moving, and the wheels are rolling. I don't even try. I mean, I can't. I honestly gotta say, I don't even attempt to control my thoughts.
What?
I just don't have any.
Well, let me ask you a little different question. This is a general question as well. Who do you think you're talking to when you're talking to yourself?
Who do I think I'm talking to? You mean like when I'm making plans? Like who is it that I'm planning for?
Well, you talk about the stream of consciousness or what otherwise is a self-narrative that we all tend to have.
Yes.
So who are you talking to?
What?
Okay,
hold on, Preston. I'm on the phone with some people.
Oh my God, who am I talking to? Oh, you mean like higher consciousness or physical consciousness? I have no idea. They don't even know if your consciousness is inside of you or outside of you. Or basically, in the world of that kind of and this is a very esoteric question in a lot of ways, because it could be consciousness is am I getting kicked out?
No, just click on the bed that you're still
on the
here.
Bed? What bed?
No, that's...
Oh my God. Why did I get... Oh, okay, well, anyway, it doesn't matter. Collective consciousness is outside of us. All thought is supposed to, and all presence and consciousness is all from there. If you believe that, the brain is the only. We think in science, they think everything's controlled from the brain, but that it flies in the face of what people have written about the quantum physics of where you actually conceive thought and where you actually conceive your awareness of your environment. So you know what? That's a huge question, but I'm open to anybody else wanting to try and answer it, because I really don't know. I really don't know.
I know my way. I kind of use the self, what David was saying. Who do you think you're talking to when you're talking to yourself? I just turned self into an acronym and called it some eternal life force. And that way I don't characterize it and I don't notice it when it walks past the mirror.
There you go.
Honey, can you bring me my mushrooms?
No, I've taken them.
That's Bond's answer to where he does his talking to himself is the mushrooms that his wife's bringing him.
Works every time.
Now that's a good nutritional thing, and he is eating it in the right time because it is night. So good.
I don't particularly have that quantum mechanical kind of spiritualistic view of where consciousness comes from. I do have that view that it is more that we are a loop, and that we are this very complex biological, neurological system that recognizes itself at some higher level of complexity. And some other animals do too. I mean, some of the higher mammals do, like whales and dolphins and chimpanzees, apes, recognize themselves when they see themselves in the mirror. They can have that kind of recognition to see and be conscious, or what we think of as that higher level of sentience. So I don't have to subscribe to some wild idea of quantum physics or anything else. Biological systems of highly complex nature, like our neurological system, has the capability to recognize itself. And the reason that the loop is so important is, and if you know about brain studies, you know that there is this lack of time. They can tell electronically that you, in effect, have made a decision before you can take recognition of it, before you recognize that you made that decision. So So we are, in that sense, a loop all the time. That most of our thinking, as I said earlier, is not conscious. It's on the non-conscious level, and it becomes conscious as we take recognition of it, as we see it. So it's not voodoo. It's just you can't put your finger on it because it's not in your conscious thought.
Right, and you're right. In neuroscience, they're actually doing studies on this right now, a lot of them, as a matter of fact, where they're saying that the way you created your past is what creates your future, because you keep running the same loop, which is what you're talking about. They don't talk about it as a loop, but they call it your default path. So when you've had an event in the past and you've done something with it and you were okay, like you survived it, like you made a decision not to step in front of the bus, it was a good decision, but you turned your ankle, but you were okay mostly because you didn't get hit by the bus. Then the next time a bus comes and you accidentally almost step in front of it, your body will rescue you again. You might twist your ankle, but you're still okay. You'll keep running that default reaction will come into the present over and over and over and over and over again, because you were okay mostly the first time and you survived it. And as long as your identity survives and the physical body survives, the brain sees that as a victory. And you will rerun the same event in slightly different forms for the rest of your life. And you will never think about it and never even recognize it as a conscious thought, which is exactly what you just said.
I think that sometimes things are far more conscious than you imply. I think that we do learn most of what we have based on growing up and being indoctrinated, and how we are indoctrinated socially or propagandized and indoctrinated in that form. That there may be lots of it that we don't see because the behaviors are so simple, like putting a tea bag in water. And yet at the same time we do miss sometimes. We are fraught with different types of human error. One of them is a sequence error. Have you ever did you ever run water through the coffee pot without putting coffee in?
Yes.
I certainly have. I mean, it's a sequence error. So even though we would say, you might just say about what you did, that there are certain types of behavioral patterns that are laid down, and they should, in a sense, be reinforced by the fact that you survived them, which is good, right? But they may not be, in that sense, totally permanent. They become more permanent over time in terms of dispositioning pathways. At the same time, we are biologically become erroneous. Daily, I lose at least 50,000 brain cells or more, depending on whether I drink or do something other abusive or insultive to my system. So, okay, so what happens to those pathways? Those pathways become injured as well. So they may, the more you think about something, like a highly trained musician may not lose all of that capability, even though he is disabled in some form by some insult, biological insult. He still may be disabled. I mean, the potential is there every day to lose something. That's why I think you hear the old saw about if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah, thanks, David. That's really interesting. While you were talking, I was just checking the room chat as well. But I was thinking of, in maths and in computing, we have this thing called a Markov chain. And if Chad Castleman was still here, he'd probably jump up and. But there's this thing, and the Markov chain is basically a computer state or a mathematical state which has no memory of the past. Right. It does everything based on its present. It just looks at its current state to determine what it's going to do next. So it's kind of like, it always reminds me, whenever I deal with Markov states, it always makes me think of living in the present. And it's like, it's kind of ultimate computerized version of being present, because it just looks at what's going on now and then makes its decision. What's going on now, with no memory of the past. You could say it's faulty, because you don't learn anything in that sense, but it's a great, it's great to see it in action if you ever get a chance to hang out with mathematicians or with
cats.
computer science.
Cats live like that, Paul. Cats live in the moment like that.
Well, there is a philosophy called Berkeleyism that had it taken to an extreme. It effectively said the only thing that exists is what you can see in front of you. Right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
All you have is now. That's what it really, you really only have now. And the past is over and the future hasn't happened yet. So what's really here is what's here.
Where's Eckhart Tolle right now when you need him, right?
Oh, I know. Or I like yeah, Eckhart Tolle. He's a required reading for all of my clients. Because then we don't have to go over all that over and over and over again. So
Truly.
there's a couple of books. And that one and the Four Agreements.
Actually, I think,
Four Agreements.
I have a lot of his CDs, and I think that listening to his CDs is really good practice or preparation for going to learning meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Very much so.
Yeah. Well, there's, anytime you still the mind, no matter whose format you're using, anytime you have a few moments of stillness, whether you're laying in the sun or you're just taking a quiet walk in the woods, you just are still. You don't actually have to be physically still, but just still, where you lose your edges, where you're not aware of yourself as being physical anymore. You're kind of just doing it, and it's just kind of, you're so quiet that you don't feel your body anymore. It's very therapeutic. And however you get it, I mean, you can sit and om and you can chant and you can do that, and that will help, but there's a lot of ways to get there. And for a lot of people, sometimes we need to open the pathways however you can get them. We meet them where they are.
Hi, wow.
Oh, wow.
I finally got back on.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Just
back
ask
on.
you a question.
Sorry, my friends. I just only just got back on, so.
That's fine, Wa. It's so funny because you asked your question and we started answering it and then you disappeared. But actually, we've kept it going all the time you've been away. So you'd be proud of us.
Well done, everybody. What was the question?
And we got.
You'll have to watch a replay.
Yeah, 2 hours of it to get to it, too.
But while you've been out of the room, we've had Bond Halbert in, and we've had David O'Neill.
Yeah, I can see David there.
Yeah, Bond's a fun guy.
Welcome to all those. Yeah, and David, I'd love to pick your brains. You've got a wealth of knowledge there. That's fantastic.
It's interesting. By the way, you talked about Markovian chains and programmers. I have over 30 years of IT experience in my background.
Wow.
IT existed 30 years ago?
Yeah.
Yes, it did. Well, actually, it was lowercase.
Servicing a floppy.
You got to go back to your.
That was when you put punch cards in a shoebox.
Absolutely. I had my share of punch cards and 8-inch floppy disks and.
Yeah.
Did we call it IT back then? I'm not sure.
Yes, they did.
They did.
Wow.
They did.
My dad took me one time back to a computer. He was a mathematician and electrical engineer, and he took me to where he used to work. There's like kind of museum of old computers, and he took me to see the computer there. And we wandered down these corridors with all this stuff on the walls. And I said to him, "Where's the computer?" And he said, "We're in it." And we were walking through this computer, three floors high.
Punch
Fantastic.
I see a punch card. Who's holding up a punch card?
Scott, I remember punch cards like that years, when
Oh,
we first started.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I did my computer programming stuff on.
What it has, punched in it, it says, Scott spends too much time at work.
To be honest, punch cards were invented much longer ago than any of us here are alive or have been alive.
Yeah.
Punch cards were invented around the turn of the
Babbage?
last century, as a matter of fact, for doing census on as people were emigrating into the United States, and that's where Hollerith, who was one of the founders of IBM, came from. He created those, and they used them for sorting, so that they could use electrical means of sorting the cards that had people's characteristics on them, and that was done all the way back in the early 1900s.
Didn't they have that in the Death Set movie with Spencer Tracy? And didn't she mess up his machines and blow punch cards all over the place?
I thought you were going to ask if they had them on the Death Star then.
Wishful thinking. What do I know about Death Star?
The stormtroopers all clocking in a big queue.
Yeah.
I think it was
destroyed
Catherine
Lord
Hepburn and
Deborah.
Spencer
It's like,
Tracy, didn't
Lord
she?
Vader, we haven't got the punch card machine working.
Or maybe it was Doris Day. Oh well. Anyway.
So how's the TMN chat going? Are people still there?
Yep, we got 13 in the room. Last count we had 28 on YouTube, and I think it's been a very successful technological demonstration.
Oh, good.
And we're not done yet.
I tried to log in so I could track what people were saying because I couldn't. It kicked me out of here actually. So apparently I don't have enough bandwidth or something to support TMN and this earlier, and then I did the sound repeat thing on you because when I logged in, of course, the sound was on earlier. I caused that. I did that. But I didn't disconnect everyone else, which would have been like me. But so.
The one thing that does come up sometimes in G+ is you get a picture of a bed, which is what I thought was happening to you, and it says, "Are you still there?" And then you just click on yes.
That happened
that
too.
pops up.
I didn't know. I was like, all of a sudden everything was gone. Why is that? Is it because we're not active
Because
enough?
because your mouse is not, your window's not active. Because you haven't.
No, but I was actually talking. That's not active enough.
Not by Google standards.
Google says that's just words, not actions.
Right. You can't do anything if you're just sitting around talking. It's not work.
You've got to be clicking with Google.
Okay.
You've obviously never worked in manufacturing. Just talking is not action enough.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Well, that's why I'm doing this now. I found that you can like do stuff and just talk, and that's good for me.
Certainly.
And nobody's going to disagree with me, I don't think. Yeah.
At least, well, you say that now, but you argue with yourself in your head.
Some eternal life force.
When you say you, David, which you do you mean? That's the thing.
Yeah, which one?
The one that has the strongest feeling, depending on who's talking in your head, it's the one who has the strongest feeling at the time is the you. That's my theory.
Oh.
Because I think that feeling that whether it's the more sensual part of proprioceptions or the sensory perceptions that we have from the outside, I think that those are very basic to us, and we see those as our self more than we think of our thoughts or that self-talk as our self, which is a good thing, right? Because if I see a train or feel something hot, I mean, I feel better about saying I moved my hand away or that other me moved its hand away. I was thinking another thought while it was doing that. I think that we have that kind of association with the real world, which is a good thing. Otherwise, we'd be schizophrenic or have some other problem. So I think that there is in that narrative, whether you're having one or two or three narratives inside your head at one time, there is a perspective, I think, that you could probably find about which you is the you. That means the most. When I say means the most, I'm not going to say the most to you, but means the most that helps you to decide. Like if your internal thoughts are arguing with you or giving you a tough time, one of the theories is that you give it love in a sense, you give it the right to say what it has to say, and ask it, what is it trying to do for you? You know that it wants you to be successful. What is it trying to do for you? And see if it has a response.
Which may come as goosebumps, and then you know it's the real one.
Maybe, and then time to put a sweat on.
I get butterflies. That's mine. But you know what? I have a question. I have a question to ask. When what I've been seeing with people is their self-talk is so loud and so dense that their awareness has completely dropped off. And so I was getting on a flight in Tampa, Florida, in the middle of this horrible thunder and lightning storm, and it was one of those tiny little airports, the one little airport there, where the plane couldn't pull up to a regular, articulating arm thing. They just rolled out the metal staircase. Now, Tampa, Florida is known for the worst thunder and lightning storms in the world, and there's like these huge bolts of lightning coming down all around us, and they're trying to load this plane. And they're setting us out there under umbrellas, which are metal sticks, onto a metal staircase, in a torrential downpour and thunder and lightning, and they're saying, go get on the plane really fast, take any seat, fill it up from the back, don't worry about your seat assignment, just get on. And they're telling us this before they let us out of the, the little waiting area. Everybody's running across the tarmac and up the stairs. Do you know that the only person out of like the 80 people that were getting on that plane that must have heard that announcement, which was made maybe a dozen times before we left the airport waiting area, because they all started going, oh, let's see, this is my seat. So there are people standing out on this metal staircase. They're screaming at us to get on the plane, and people are like taking off their coats, folding them up, putting them in the upper overhead, and the stewardesses are like on the PAs, and they're like, sit down now, people are going to die, and they're like, nobody, they're looking for their seats, they're shaking their umbrellas out, they're getting their seatbelt ready, and they were completely oblivious. I mean, they had PAs screaming, they had people actually touching people, and they still were so busy looking for their seat and reading their ticket, they were oblivious, completely oblivious, every person. And I'm like watching this, I was like, oh my God. So when I'm finding...
It's like my classes at school.
Yeah. So what I'm seeing in New York is people like they're on their cell phones now. They're texting. They're trying to walk at the same time. They're falling in holes. I saw a girl fall down on the street texting, and she kept texting while she was laying in a pothole. I was like, you have got to be kidding me. And I'm like looking at this, and I'm thinking, how much self-talk, how much noise do you have going on in there? You haven't even realized you fell down. You fell down. You're laying in the road. You could get run over by a bus here. Stepped on. Something, you're dirty. Anyway, I'm looking, I'm thinking, well, she's dirty. That was my self-talk. It's all about being dirty. I don't want to be dirty and laying in the street in New York. But people are oblivious. And so what's happening is the self that you're talking about, David, the self, the one that gives you goosebumps that Andy said, the one that's a more powerful voice, where is it? Where did it go? Because
I think it's in the Matrix.
It's in the Matrix. Oh, I love it. Blue pill or the red pill? Which is the one? Blue pill or the red pill? Andy, you always know this.
Whichever one the Frenchman didn't eat.
There you go. I think it's the blue one. Or maybe it's the red. I have to watch the movie again. Somebody always knows that for me, because I always ask that, and I can never remember from one time to the other. I don't know why I can't remember. I'd probably take both. When the Ergon didn't get offered, you take both.
It is really, I think that it is an important point to think about what is happening in our modern technological society and what biological effects these things have. It's one thing to miss out on and cause you problems, to not recognize the risks that there is in daily living. But, in modern technological societies, we've taken a lot of the risks away. We put up stoplights and put up crosswalks and made sidewalks. I mean, we've done all kinds of things to make homes safer and et cetera. So we have all of this otherwise freedom from lions and tigers and bears that we used to live with. So in the meantime, we're filling it with other forms of thought patterns and capabilities of thought patterns, like phones, cell phones, watching TV, listening to the radio all day, or earbuds or whatever, or God knows, maybe implants someday, right? And GPS helps us down the road. I mean, all of these things that apply. But remember, you said earlier that there's this effect that I think we have as a biological being, and that is that as we learn something or do something, if it is pleasing, or if it is at least not painful, we will tend to learn it and continue to use it. And so, naturally, this woman who falls in the ditch, by her form of behavior, lays in the ditch because to her, she's got to finish that text. Tweeting her way to hell.
People were actually offering to help her up, and she was shaking them off because she was still busy. I was like, I cannot believe it.
She's got flow. But she's got flow.
Yeah, she's got flow. Oh. That's she was black and blue.
Sometimes flow hurts.
Yeah, there you go.
The kids I teach, they cannot, will not conceive of a world without their smartphone. And I tell them, I'm not that old, and I say, yeah, but when I was your age, I didn't, when I'm confiscating their phone because they've got it out in a lesson and they're doing something they shouldn't, and I take the phone, they say, but what if I get attacked on the way home? What if my mum wants to ring the school? I say, well then your mum will ring the school, and then the school will ring this room, and then I will tell you that, and they'll say, but what if she wants to just talk to me? I say, well, she'll use that phone over there to, and then when I tell them about what life used to be like, when the dinosaurs roamed the earth and cell phones didn't exist, their eyes go wide, and they really, honestly, they're not faking it. They cannot comprehend what I'm talking about. How did you arrange to meet up with your friends? If you're going to be late, what did you do? All that, just amazing. So I get it that to a lot of modern people, their engagement with life is on a different, it's on a different plane.
Sure.
This device is so important to them that, like you say, they'll fall down, but they've got to keep texting.
When I was traveling in China with Master Chen, the Taoist priest, we were loading onto a bus, and it was sort of like the same thing about the plane all over again. And he said, look, the bus is going to pull up here at a corner. We're in a communist country. The police are going to run over here because we're doing this illegally, so you need to get on the bus right away, right now, or we will be arrested. Or the bus driver is going to be, like taken away or something, something dire. And so the bus pulls up and we start running on, and he said this to a group of like 30 people, and about half heard it and half didn't. Now these are meditators, these are people who do Tai Chi and Qigong, and still only half of the people who were getting on the bus actually took it in. And when you're traveling in a group with people, and especially you're doing it in China, you're getting on planes and getting on buses, and you're going here and you're going there and rendezvousing and all these things that have to happen, people have to pay attention. And what I'm finding as I'm doing all these things with groups is that the attention span, even without a cell phone, because our cell phones didn't work there, we were on the top of mountains. We didn't have any cell phones. We didn't have any iPods. We had nothing. We had nothing. And still the self-talk in the head keeps them from hearing and actually taking in something that could be dangerous, that could be inconvenient. When someone says to you, this is it, you have to do this, and they still can't take it in, I really wonder who it is that is listening to whatever they're listening to inside of there, because it's not the information that's at hand in the moment. Now, I think it might be that people are spooling back, spooling forward. I don't know where they go. They check out, and they're gone.
Well, there's quite a bit of difference here between lions and tigers and bears, and the different forms of information that you can take in. In other words, I'm taking in information if I'm narrating my own life inside my head, plans or otherwise. I'm actually taking in information. I'm creating it at the same time. That's why I talk about the loop, this infinite, hopefully, well, it's not infinite. I'm going to croak someday. But there's this loop that I'm going to go through that even in self-talk, where I might discover something, or, I might, whatever. But we're taking in information. The issue, like with the bus, or not so much with the woman falling in the hole, but, much of what we live through is not really sensual.
Right.
We're not in touch with the world. We really aren't. We're in touch with ourselves and our heads in terms of that, not only that narrative, but how we perceive even the closeness of things. Where earlier man dug ditches to find, grubs and run away from lions and tigers and bears. I mean, we were in touch with the world, and so that kind of information about the now was much more important. And I think you would find culturally that those countries where there is greater political and environmental risk have a better sense of now. And as you might say, appear to be more conscious, right, in more representative of the real world.
It's true. New Yorkers versus like people in Allentown, Pennsylvania, where I live. I work in New York and I live in Allentown, and the awareness in... I'm
up in Broadheadsville, by the way.
Oh, are you? I built the bank branch there for Meridian Bank. When I was doing interior design stuff.
That's great.
Anyway, so yeah, the awareness is very different depending on your environment, I think, and again, cultural upbringing. Speaking of which, I just looked at the time. I'm supposed to have been talking about my show for 15 minutes. Oops. Do I want to switch to that now, or do we want to just keep doing what we're doing?
It's your show.
No, I mean, Paul, can you still see the, are you still on TMN?
Yep.
I am too.
16 in the room.
Okay.
Two of them called Brian.
Two of them called Brian?
Yeah. Two of them Brian with a Y. I'm not sure if Brian's logged in twice.
Okay. All right, so shall I segue into that so that we can at least, I do apologize for this sort of abrupt interruption, but it'll be much the same. It's just going to be a slightly different bend on things.
Your topic sounds just like what we're talking about.
Yeah, it is. It actually is. I mean, everything sort of leads, all the roads lead to Rome, kind of, and the scheme of things anyway.
Caroline just dropped into TMN saying I'm on YouTube too. So I think there's quite a few watching on YouTube. So thanks,
cool.
guys. If you.
That's cool. Oh.
I've got all three in the room.
Oh, you do?
Cool.
By the way, is that number in the lower left-hand corner? There's 18 in the.
What's that mean?
No, it's age 18 and up.
Oh.
So.
We are?
Huh? Well, this room is because.
Mental age is about 2.5.
How do we know how many people are here in Google Plus? Do we know?
That's a good question.
George is the only one that knows.
Up in the top left, I see something that says Chat 11.
I see Chat 8.
I see Chat 11.
Interesting.
I don't see any, but they're all texting anyway, so it doesn't matter.
You win.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, they're texting. They can text. I don't think I see it, though. Because when we're streaming, I don't think we can see the texting, so there's probably people texting.
Well, you mean
I
in
don't know
this
how
room?
do they communicate through the YouTube and the Twitter thing?
I have no...
I don't see any chat at all.
And I don't see any chat in YouTube, just the video.
No, it doesn't go through. I remember George saying something about that, but anyway.
Oh, I just turned to the chat. I can see the chat now.
Oh, and how many are on it?
Well, now I can't see how many. I just see the people that are making chat in the Google Plus. If you click on chat up in that corner, you're going to see a running chat.
Oh.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, sure enough. How about that?
How about that? It says, I don't think it affects anything.
Yeah, that's just an internal one, though, isn't it?
Technology.
I just saw Rachel Leben's comment from 12:30, so about 2 hours ago now, saying how this was very cool. So,
oh, God. All right, well, see, this is the learning curve. This is why we're doing this. So,
well, you can even screen share in here. I mean, there's apps and stuff, so who knows? I mean, this might not be the night's experiment, but, I mean, this would be sort of fun to figure out how to use it.
I'm going to make a punch card app for it.
Yeah, I'm going to run that through my sorter as soon as I get my hands on it.
Oh, look, there's all this stuff from WA from 8 o'clock. Oh, God. He was telling us he couldn't get back on. Oh, well. Anyway.
Yeah, that chat's just for the internal, for the people here in the Hangout.
Okay.
That's just us in the room.
Oh,
okay.
Okay. All right. So, segue into, so what my show topic was, if anybody saw it, for those of you on TMN who haven't, and I can't see the chat, so Paul, if you could help me, because when I tried to log on before, it kicked me out of here.
Yep.
So,
I'll relay the chat through.
Okay, thanks. My show topic is You're Not the Boss of Me, World Domination, Success in You. And what I have been finding is there's a difference between, and kind of this is a leap of faith, because this is going to, of course, like everything else I talk about most of the time anyway, is kind of flies in the face of what we have normally thought. A lot of times we talk about ego and dropping ego, and you know, ego's a bad thing. It's the thing that makes you not want, you know, people don't like you because you have ego, and ego gets you into trouble, and it makes you defend things you shouldn't defend, and have opinions about things you shouldn't have opinions about, and all kinds of stuff. And I've been working with people on this, and you know, they're, you know, you're supposed to be killing it off, and all kinds of things. You know, like we're like treating it like it's a cancer. You know, you're gonna rip it out, beat the crap out of it, and not have one. And then you think, well, if you were in a car, if you were in an emergency room somewhere, and your doctor, and you had a really, you know, like cowboy of a doctor kind of thing, you would want him to have ego and have and be sure of what he was doing when he was doing your surgeries and doing things for you, because you would want him to be sure, and you want him to have some ego. So I'm not so sure that ego is a bad thing. But here's the thing that I've discovered, that the real bugaboo isn't ego. It's something that's beyond ego. And does anybody have an idea what that is? Because it's something that everybody is afraid of. Everybody's afraid of it. Does anybody have any ideas they want to throw into the ring here, so I can tell them, no, it's not right?
All gone in. Superego.
Superego.
Id.
Clowns?
Huh?
Clowns?
Clowns?
Humunculus.
Can you spell that? Andy can spell it.
H-U-M-U-N-C-U-S. Golem.
So
anyway.
So here's the thing.
Martha Stewart, says Sean Kingston.
Huh? What'd she say?
Martha Stewart.
Martha Stewart.
Our parents.
Oh, yeah. Talk about it. Yeah, Martha Stewart. Well, so here's the thing. What it is that people all have in common universally that they're afraid of is they're afraid of being dominated. Domination. And we learn about this when we're in our terrible twos. In terrible twos, you're just coming to grips with your power of identity, and you want to dictate where you go, what you eat, what you're wearing. You know, people are touching you, you know, they're picking you up and taking you places you don't want to go. And you have a lot of stress in your life because you don't have any control over what it is that's happening to you. And so kids, you know, they decide they're not going to eat peas anymore, even though they ate peas last week. They're not eating them anymore. They'll never touch them again, and they will throw them in your hair. And we decide we are not going to do certain things, like we're not going to behave certain ways, and this is why the terrible twos are the terrible twos. And we won't sleep when we're asked to, and we'll say, I mean, you know, kids learn no before they learn yes. You know, and so what ends up happening is that in that desire to not be dominated, we create this whole sphere of chaos around us, and we're creating our identity based on defiance of authority and the perception of domination. Now, in our society, we're sort of twisting that to be ego, that you're not supposed to be all about you. You're not supposed to be that way. But you're supposed to be defining yourself as a being, so that's not a bad thing. And having ego is only bad if you're being a pissant. You know, it's not a bad thing if you're actually using it creatively as in a powerful way, in a courageous way. But ego's always been defined by all the writings and all the literature as a bad thing. If you look at where the epicenter of it is, it comes from terrible twos. It comes from that moment when you put your hands on your hip and you decide, nobody is going to be the boss of me. You are not going to be the boss of me. And then you start building a ton of structure on that. So do any of you guys remember when you were little, when you had that pivotal moment? I know when I had mine. I can tell you totally when I decided nobody was going to be the boss of me. So when was yours? Excuse me.
I don't know. I'd have to check the medical records because I'm sure I got an adjustment when I thought it.
I'm sure you got an adjustment. So, Wa, do you remember when you had your moment when you learned about nobody's the boss of me?
I do apologise. I've only just been able to get back in because my internet connection went again. Can you just tell me the question again?
When do you remember, if when you were a little kid, do you remember when you first learned you're not going to be the boss of me?
When was your earliest recognition of being, that you recognized that your defiance was really you?
When I was me. I mean, when I was a child, I always thought I was me. And then the shaped consciousness changes, and you then realize that you're not the boss of you, or you know, other people are more in control of your life than you are. Even though your thoughts and your things that you do become different. So I do apologise because I didn't have the whole conversation, but I think there was a realisation in me at some point that turned around and said, well, I'm the centre of my own universe, so you know, I'm the one who's got to take the action to get the results and the life I want. So that's
right.
Certainly, but when you were growing up in the beginning, right? You know, the earliest part of your life, you are being taken care of, but you're also in that sense being indoctrinated into whatever their world is at the same time. But at some point, you actually begin to not only you start to discover that you can take control of the world around you. In other words, you figure out, oh, these are my hands, and I'm not going to stick myself in the eye with them anymore, and you can find your nose effectively. So, but at the point that you can see that they are your hands and that you are acting out in that world, at some point in your development, you recognize the I and thou situation, where you aren't your parents, they aren't you. And you acting in the world is different than you all acting together. You do recognize that at some point we see like you say, you do see yourself, but then one of the earliest things, as you're saying, is that we recognize that by conflict more than anything else, right? Because we say, you're saying we want to avoid being controlled, and I might say in a loving, growing, progressive household, you would recognize that you are creating more of your own world. So you are in control, not that you are trying to fight back control, being controlled.
Oh yeah, I mean, from what you're saying is, you know, is some of the things that I actually totally agree with. That in the fact that what actually happens is, you know, you are your, you know, you perceive your parents to be, or that household is what your perception is. So is, you know, is there, like, you know, lots of other people's realities going on? I mean, I don't know how deep down this rabbit hole we want to go, but, you know, is it, because everybody has their own feelings and their own concept of that reality and that moment in space and time. So if you know, you feel like, you know, a parent's doing something to you, or you feel in control of that situation, that is only in that moment in time. That you know, that's when that thought is created, and that's when it manifests itself. So, you know, that's what I'm saying, man. How far do we want to go into it, where we turn around and go, you know, we are our own creations, and we create the world around us and the reactions around us.
In the
I
TMN
remember
room,
mine
Wenda has just said that she thinks there's a difference between the ego and between standing up and saying to yourself that I am my own boss. She's saying that if you do that, that's not ego. It's being self-directive and raising that awareness within you. Which I thought was an interesting point. Made me think a lot about what do I think about ego.
Well, attach that back to when you were a child as well. I mean, going back to Glennis's question about that first moment in your childhood when you realized you were somewhat independent. I don't know if you still have them now, not being a parent, but when I was a kid, you had the baby walkers, which had the wheels on. Before you could walk, your parents would sit you in those. The minute I sat in that, I was independent. I knew I could be off down the street at 100 kilometers an hour, and nobody could stop me. That moment, that realization has never changed since.
Yeah, exactly. There's a moment of time when you're somewhere in your, like, between 2 and 3, maybe, you know, where you make your break and you go, you people who've been diapering me and kissing on me and making me eat this green slop, you are not the boss of me. I am free. and even though they're still changing your diaries and doing the stuff, you flip the switch, and now you've made this determination that nobody is going to dominate you. Nobody's going to control your environment entirely. And this is where terrible twos happen, because, and you see it in the development of kids, they start to strike out, and things that they would do before, like they would eat oatmeal, now they won't eat that. Now they want cold cereal, you know, or whatever it is. They make a choice, because, you know, whatever you're expecting, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to do what I want to do, even if it flies in the face of everything that they've been trained to do, that the lifestyle that you're living, they're going to make some weird breaks, and the parents are like, I don't know, they always ate everything before. Now they don't eat anything. They only eat chicken fingers and Kraft macaroni and cheese. I don't understand. They always ate everything till they were. And then, because kids can control a couple of things. They can control their sleep patterns, because they refuse to sleep. They can control what they eat. They can control, you know, a couple of things. They're little things that they can get for themselves. They will control. And we've all done it because we've all were kids. And in that moment, you make a decision. You're like, you are not the boss of me. I am the boss of me. And from that moment on, we learn something else. Because when you're acting out on that moment of you know, you're not going to dominate me, your childlike wonder starts to get a little eroded, because you start to play and get a little rambunctious. Next thing you know, you're getting a licking because you broke a lamp and it was an accident, but, you know. And so the thing that happens while you're being the boss, you kind of don't quite have all your edges, and some bad things happen, you know, some little things. And, you know, like, and you're telling me those kids that made a tree house out of cardboard in a tree on a rainy day, you know, and they were going to try and get in it. Like, expect that was going to support them because of wet cardboard.
That didn't quite work out for them.
Yeah, it might work out. And I remember, you know, I was like thinking, oh my God, you know, so kids do these things that they do in their quest for freedom. And it's based on, you are not going to be the boss of me. So and what we do as adults is we're integrating this, as we're developing through the teen years, and, like, you know, who was talking about, they drove somewhere. Oh, the stupid things. Like, I'm sure everybody here could share a stupid story about when your teenage years, when you had a great idea and you were going to do this thing, and you were an adult, you were going to handle it, and you handled it, and something happened. What happened? And those stories would be great. I mean, like Paul, when you were in your teenage years, what kind of thing did you do that you thought was a great idea that didn't turn out so good in your quest for freedom, in your quest of non-domination?
Oh boy. Well, there were loads.
Yeah, so it's tough to single just one out.
Well, Scott, do you have one? Do you have one right off the top of your head?
Well, this is not perhaps when I was so young, but I was in Boy Scouts, and we decided to like shoot bottle rockets out of our tent at the other troop down the hill, and it ended up, one of the bottle rockets ended up landing on the convertible top of the Scoutmaster's car and burned a hole through it. Yeah. So there were, I think the realization where it came earlier was when I made a decision and there was some ramification for that. Where before maybe if I did something and they'd just let me skate on it, but where I made a decision and then I had to live with the consequences. That was really the realization was, hey, I am my own boss, but I'm going to have to live with my decisions.
While we're on the projectile theme, I felt guilty about this for years too. We were playing cricket at school, and there was this kid who everyone used to make fun of, and someone was making fun of him and saying something about, wouldn't it be funny if, because he never paid attention, and they said, wouldn't it be funny if, the ball went to him and he didn't see it and it hit him, and we were talking about it and we laughed, and then the ball came to me and I had to throw it to this kid, and I threw it, and I didn't aim it, I didn't think about it, I just threw it, and it sailed through the air, and I'd thrown it, and I just suddenly had this horrible feeling it was going straight at him, and it was a huge arc, and it was coming right down, and I was shouting at him, and we all started shouting at him, and we shouted his name, and of course the wrong thing happened, because we were shouting his name, he suddenly snapped to, because he was off in his head somewhere probably, and he suddenly looked up at us and went, what, like this, as this ball is coming down on him. And I was going, move, like that. And he was just looking at me going, what? And this ball just went, bam, and hit him on the head. And it floored him. And we didn't know whether to laugh or to I felt terrible. But anyway, there you go. And countless things like that.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we all do. I mean, I was stealing apples at an apple orchard all the time, and I got caught. Stuff like that. And I thought it was a good idea at the time. And I was like, they looked ripe, and who would care? And so, of course, you're taught not to steal and all this stuff. But it was a huge apple orchard, and we would pull up next to it, and everybody would get out of the car like a Chinese fire drill and steal these apples. And then eventually they saw us doing it. We were doing it week after week, coming from this riding stable. And we would actually steal enough to feed them to the horses. It was bad. You're not the boss of me. I know it's not right to steal, but I'm going to go take these apples because they're right there, and I can get them. And yeah, it was a good idea until you get caught, and then it's not such a good idea. So, Andy, what about you?
I'm sorry, I've just returned with coffee, and you were all talking about crime. What are we talking
I know,
about?
I was talking about crime.
Well,
Paul hit somebody in the head with a ball.
It is marketing after all,
What was the question?
The question is when sort of high school, teenage years, stupid stuff that you did that was your strikeout for freedom, for non-domination.
Oh.
Flying in the face of authority.
I'm not sure I can say that on here.
It doesn't have to be the worst one. You can give us a PG 18+ version.
Andy, I had to stop and think.
Oh, you did? Oh, and
I'm cycling through the options, and they're all red flags.
Oh.
It's an 18+ rating on the room, though. You're among friends.
So far.
I'm not sure. I couldn't identify the first time. I couldn't if I tried. There's so many of them. I live it every day. I won't let anybody be the boss of me.
That's right. Nobody's the boss of me. I'm telling you what, everybody has it. It runs. Oh, David, what's yours? What was one of your, like, ones?
I can remember being defiant as a child about wanting to do my own thing, and I had 2 older sisters, so even if I thought I was the boss of me, I had problems.
Yes, you did.
Because, you know, I'm sure I was a plaything up to a particular point, not just for my parents, but for my sisters, and you know, I'm sure that I was defiant with them and probably got into some pretty nasty stuff with them. Pushing and shoving and all that kind of stuff, so. I'm sort of as interested in this because I think that it's very hard. I think that you're right. At 2, it's very hard to remember, I think, all the way back that far. It's, as I said, I lose a lot of brain cells every day. But I think that it's easier to see when is it that you realize that even though you're the boss of you, the world trumps everything.
Well, that's the thing. And it's kind of an interesting thing that you get to know that the world, a lot of people have very clear understanding that the world is potentially can trump them, and they know that. But there's still the running sort of undercurrent. All that is, you are not the boss of you. And that's what I'm saying, world domination success in you. What happens, here's the thing that's the crux of it. Childlike wonder happens, and then you get in trouble, and I call that the shit sandwich syndrome. You have fun, and then you get in trouble. And you have a really good time, and then you get in trouble. And what you learn is that after really fun is a bad thing. Kids find this to be a bit of a pattern. And then they start to squelch. As our development, we start to squelch that childlike wonder. And a lot of the dreaming and what if we built this and we did that and this thing happened and we could go and we could like fly off the roof and do whatever, all goes away. Because after that is the shit sandwich. And so we stop having the party time because we know that there's going to be a repercussion after. And then and so that nobody's going to be the boss of me happens. You're still fighting for your freedom. And what ends up happening is instead of it being a positive, which you would think it would be because you're independent and you're free and you're defining your edges, it starts to actually limit you. Because you'll make decisions to make sure you're not dominated. And not everything is dominating you. It's only your perception of it. And that you're allowing this track that you developed at 2 continue to develop because you were under the purview of your parental units. No fault of their own. They had to keep a grip on all of us. Otherwise, we would have really run amok. I mean, you know, I was doing, well, I won't tell you about the time I got pushed in a pool in all my clothes and stuff, and I was supposed to be somewhere else, which wasn't where there was a pool. But anyway, and I really had a hard time explaining why my wool pants were wet. I mean, like, and so was my hair and everything. But the bottom line is that we are all creating our own perception built on a track of you're not the boss of me. And as a result of that, you make decisions that you live your life by that create a very definite pattern that limits. Because you're only controlled by your own perception of it. And you set the perception at 2. It's not accurate anymore. It's not accurate anymore. So, like, people will make decisions. I'm not going to do this because they're trying to boss me around. And they think it's ego. And we always talk about it as being ego. You know, that someone is controlling you. Someone is not thinking of my best interest. Someone's going to put something over on me. Somebody is going to take something from me. I am afraid. I'm afraid that I'm not going to have control. So the thing that happens is we want to control from this, you're not the boss of me. What happens? 2 things. 1, you refuse to be dominated, so you won't take any kind of situation where someone might be overpowering to you. And 2, and this is the other key one, is you become a dominator. You become the person That's the control freak that's trying to control everything that happens in your purview, and you spend all of your energies trying to protect yourself from being dominated by being a control freak. And that's the victim. That's a victim waiting to happen. And the "you're not the boss of me" is the persecutor. And who's the hero? Who's the hero? I call this the trilogy of drama. You know, the victim is the one that's trying to not be dominated by being dominated. It's the craziest thing. You know, this happened. You know, that stuff that, you know, the people I'm talking about. They call you up, and by the time you get off the phone with them, you feel like you've been sucked out like a raisin. So in our lives, if you can see where you're limiting yourself by that 2.5-year-old track, that terrible twos, you are not the boss of me. If you can allow, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's only what you create. Nobody's trying to boss you. Nobody's trying to control you. It's only your perception from 2.5 that you're carrying into the present that is limiting your possibilities of your life forever. So now, if you could, knowing that, and knowing it is maybe not enough. You actually have to kind of experience it. But this is a really important piece because everybody has it. Everybody wants to be free. They say they want to be free. What's freedom? What's freedom? Is freedom having a full possibility and range of choice and option? What's freedom?
The dream of the shackled.
Yes, exactly. Oh, Andy. Oh, and I didn't even plant him.
I would say freedom is similar to forgiveness. It's the idea that you do not require control anymore.
Exactly. It's not necessary. It's not something you need to have. And here's the thing. Our society is moving what?
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, but people think that freedom is being able to do what they want when they want to do it. That's what I was
going to say.
The differences between freedom and liberty.
Exactly. And so if you can do exactly anything you want to do, and you can do anything you want, that means different things to different people. But for most people, what that means is they don't have to show up for things. They don't have to take care of things. They don't have to be responsible. And you know what real freedom is? And here's the punchline on this whole thing, which is good because I only have 11 minutes left. The punchline is that real freedom is being responsible.
Discipline. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Oh, Andy, thank you. Yes. It's being responsible because when you're responsible and you have integrity of word, and what you say is what you do, then people will recognize that and they will give you a blank check because they'll help you. You were talking earlier, Paul, about, advertising with that child with his Cane's thing, with the cardboard and bring more people. Well, when you're responsible and you have discipline and you do what you say and you have integrity of word and you drop the "you're not the boss of me" underlying track, the energy of that, and you allow for the fact that you really are free in alignment with being responsible and disciplined, then people will give you full range of possibility. Money will flow. Opportunities will come because they trust you. And they honor you for your freedom. And your freedom is that you are creating anything you want, not just acting out from the terrible twos, and you are not the boss of me. So there. So how does that express itself in our lives? We can live out as adults, live in a 2.5-year-old's perception of what being free is, or we can actually live out a life of possibility and create whatever you want because of integrity of word and integrity of deed. That is true freedom.
A round of applause here.
Here, here.
Everybody's so quiet. I'm so sorry. I had to get my soapbox out quick because I didn't have very much time.
I believe that's called being authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah, authentic.
Authentic, yeah. It's like my discovery of the authentic was after going through so many years of saying you're not the boss of me. I mean, I grew up in South Central Haiti, so I was telling everybody that nobody was the boss of me. But then later I moved into different places, and I met people that were smarter than I'd ever met before, and more disciplined. And I realized maybe they're not the boss of me, but I will accept a supervisor.
Mentors are welcome.
Yeah. Perfect.
We call them accountability partners now.
Yeah, oh yes we do. We have a name for them. Buddy system.
Oh, I thought that was a blame circle. I forgot.
Delegation of blame.
Yes, you didn't push me hard enough. That's why I didn't achieve that.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
That's one of the great problems about the way that using an external measure can not allow you to have freedom. That takes away your freedom. Accountability, in that sense, takes away your freedom.
Yeah.
Not going to be. How authentic are you when you're depending on somebody else to make sure that you lose weight or get a WSO out on time or whatever else? I mean, either it's you or it's not you.
But each of those things that you're mentioning there, you know, the relying on someone else to lose weight or whatever, that's a journey in itself. Each one of those is a little pocketed journey, so it has a start and an end point.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they're not helpful, and I would be, because I think a lot of what we're talking about right now is this idea, the concept of self, where, you know, you're talking about earlier, besides Seligman, there's a whole bunch of other people that could be brought up here. I've got books around me somewhere here. You know, like Goldman and people like that, where there is this sense of we are creatures, or we are social creatures. No man is an island, etc. I mean, so there's this idea about, you know, this personal integrity and authenticity and having my own thoughts and acting out in the world. But it is a world, and the world is of other creatures and beings that we recognize similar to us.
And they're all saying, you're not going to be the boss of me.
Exactly.
So therefore, instead of having bosses to work for, what we need is to realize that everyone is their own boss, and we just need to work with them and not for them.
Yeah, I think respecting other people is a vital thing, and in that respect, recognizing, as they say, that we all have value in those differences, and it's our opportunity to discover them without too much valuation and measure.
David, if you were my if you were my accountability partner, let's say, if I'm doing it right, I'm not relying on you for my weight loss. I'm using you. You're like a piece of gym equipment in the gym, or you're neutral. If I'm doing it right, I'm not putting it on you that I lose my weight. You're assisting me by being there, but it's still down to me, you know. So
I absolutely agree and believe that, and I don't want to discredit the process, because part of what I just said is true. Is that I believe that the nature of the social engagement in our social contract is that there is power in it. In Japan, I heard that in Japan, when you move into an apartment building, you actually become part of that apartment building, that social group of that apartment building, and everybody believes that you're supposed to have a certain etiquette about being part of that group in the way that you treat the building and the participant, the other people that live there, etc. So it depends on the particular social environment. I think that there is quite a bit of value in that. But in the sense of freedoms about the being authentic in yourself, it is extending that. It's not, you're not free in that sense, but you never are free, because this is a world. And you will match, your best that you will ever do, in a sense, is match the world. You may invent new things to do with it, but you're not going to go beyond it.
Well, here's the thing. When you're in a buddy system, in a process that's a buddy system, and we were calling them accountability partners or whatever, one of the things, and I have this, talk about passions. One of my biggest passions in the whole world is actually kind of like what we're doing right now, because this is like a little symbiotic little group, and we're all pulling on each other's energies to create what we just made, our conversation and our thoughts and ideas and things. And we're creating, because everything we just did here is a creation of us being in this group, in this moment, in this time. And what you were talking about, Paul, about the weight loss thing and having the partner, what happens as a human being is you have good days and bad days. And your best on a good day is better than your best on a bad day. And sometimes with your partner, their best day is in opposition to your off day, and you can use, this is actually, you use their frequency and their commitment to help carry you through the eye of the needle on the day when you're looking at a piece of chocolate cake and thinking that's totally reasonable to have that for breakfast. That's a reasonable choice. So there are times when your brain and what you decide to do in your inimitable wisdom in that moment of time, when your frequency drops, you're not making wise decisions. And it might be because you're sick, or you might be stressed, and there's other things that come into play that the discipline doesn't hold. So as a result of that, the frequency of your partner, the creation of that relationship will take both people to success. And I got to tell you, with having made movies in New York and running movie crews and construction crews when I built the Broadheadsville Bank and stuff, I love teams. I love when you can take a group of people from all over hell and gone who have nothing in common, and you create something in that team that those people can create together, and they do it in an awesome, creative way, and the relationship that is developed and the process of it, that is a passion of mine. I remember standing in movie sets and standing there and watching 60 people run around and make a scene for a day, set it all up, and the cameras and the lights and the track and the scaffolding and the cranes and all the stuff. And I used to think, God, I am the luckiest person on this planet, because I know all these people. I know all these people, and look what we are making. And because we're all here in this moment, in this time doing it, look what we just made. Look at this. And so with Paul and the weight loss thing that he said, I love that you can draw on somebody else. But, of course, you really need to be driving your own bus, too. But on those moments in those days when you need a little help, and you want somebody to keep, there's a Garfield cartoon, he goes, I see a light at the tunnel, I'm having a really bad day, and then the cartoon is him standing in front of the refrigerator door, and the light is the refrigerator light coming out on him. And I think that, if there was somebody there to push the door shut and say, are you sure you want to dive into that lasagna, Garfield? Is that really the choice you want to make when you want to lose 5 pounds? Then that would be a good thing. So just somebody to love you through it, And that would be the loving response. I love you, not like, are you kidding me? You're going to eat lasagna? So does anybody else have anything? I guess we're out of time, so I don't know if George is going to turn us off or how this works exactly, because I don't ever have ended one of these before. But does anybody have, or are we going on? I don't even know, because we sort of did the group chat for Waz Hour, and now I don't know what happened. Does anybody know? George?
I don't know. A thought did just occur to me, though.
Yes?
Going back to something David was saying about the natural risks that we've removed, running from tigers, lions, and bears.
Mm-hmm.
I always wondered about the naming conventions of operating systems.
I haven't heard bear yet, though.
Ah, well, you will soon, won't you? The next operating system.
Well, actually, that was an operating system, right? Next.
Next, oh yeah, an old one.
That's right.
Good
Oh,
call.
What happened after that first version of Apple? Next.
No, I can't really contribute on that stuff, guys. I don't know anything about that stuff.
Oh.
I dated somebody whose godfather owned Texas Instruments once. That's about as close as I got to.
Are they actually based in Texas?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I'll allow it.
Where then? They're probably in they're probably moved outsourced. They're probably in India or something.
Oh, they've been making chips since the 80s overseas.
Oh yeah, see there, yeah.
I used to work above them in Manchester,
Oh, see.
but they were still called Texas.
Oh yeah. Mm. So you guys, this is so fun.
Yeah.
What are the TMN people saying? What are they saying? Are they saying anything?
Lonnie just turned up and said, it's about time George got involved with TMN Hangouts. Because Lonnie's been the G Plus guy for, George is laughing in the private chat here too. Lonnie's been the G Plus guru for ages, and he's been kind of ragging on us. Come on, you know. And
Well,
now
there
we're
you go.
here, Lonnie. We're doing it.
Hey, Lonnie, you missed the story about naked people and...
Nah, Lonnie's got
Missed a
to
bit.
slow down.
We covered playing with yourself,
Yes.
a whole bunch of things like that.
Wet T-shirt
Men-
contest.
men-
Define.
Yeah, wet T-shirt contest. Yeah, Lonnie, you missed all the fun. You got to come earlier. I'm telling you. Oh, you guys, this is so fun. Well, we're going to get to do it again next week, huh?
Super Tuesdays.
Tuesdays.
Yes, please.
Yeah, George says we can quit if we want, but I don't know how to quit, so I don't know what to do.
How's it go? Can I have some more, please?
More.
Well, thanks for joining us, David.
Well, no, that was Oliver Twist, wasn't
Yes, it was.
it? I have some more porridge, please.
Oliver's Gruel.
Yeah, gruel. Yeah.
Cool. Jim Hack says, do I have the right channel? Because Lonnie's just said, wow, this is really hanging out in all parts.
Poor Jim. I'm so sorry.
Just to recap what we did tonight, in case anyone came after, we opened up the Google Hangout, the Google Plus Hangout. George linked up G Plus with YouTube, and we fed that stream into the TMN room at talkmarketingnow.com, with a whole bunch of us in the room. And actually, we've grown in number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we've had other people in the chat. It's great.
Well, hello,
There's
George.
Oh, and there's George's back.
Yeah, for a little final appearance.
And Wise here.
It was good. It was great.
Am I frozen? Let me shake my head, see if I'm here.
Yay!
I'm here.
It worked really good, didn't it?
It did.
There were
Fantastic.
comments on YouTube.
Oh, it's really incredible.
Plus.
And we were on Twitter. We were on G Plus. We were on TMN Network, and of course the Google Plus stream. So it was pretty cool. So we will have to experiment with it some more.
Yeah. Lonnie says, George, about time you got on board Google Plus. And Coraline wants to know, how did you do it?
I'm not telling my trade secrets. There's too many medical people out there that might take it.
Coraline, George is the wizard behind the curtain here. So there you go.
The Great Oz.
Well, you guys, thank you everybody on TMN for bearing with us while we sort of work the bugs out here on the first one. It's been kind
Yeah, thanks.
And Paul, thank you for monitoring everything for us. And
I did?
Yes.
Oh, thanks. There's 20 people in the TMN room. I don't know how many people are on YouTube. That's great.
That is pretty cool. Well, they probably got out and go, what's going on here?
And in the future, we need to check the YouTube comments because we had 40 YouTube comments too. So.
Wow.
Wow.
There were people on there saying, "Can you give a shout out to my class because I'm sitting in class."
Oh, wow.
Who disliked it? There were 14 thumbs up and 1 thumbs down on YouTube. Who disliked it?
That was George.
No, that was just somebody who is dyslexic.
Well, we got 25. We have 25 watching, and YouTube.
I think the YouTube
25.
channel. I think the YouTube channel was actually having live comments, wasn't it?
Yeah, we just didn't get them.
Super.
Yeah, I see him now.
Yeah, there's still 25 watching on YouTube, so that's cool.
Oh, thanks for being here! Yay!
Brilliant.
And we've had quite an eclectic group too. It's been really fun, you guys.
So the other thing. Yeah, we're going to be. But the other thing I just wanted to know is, you know what? It live streams on YouTube. Does it get recorded and left there on YouTube as well, George?
I think George can make it private. If that's what you mean, or he can make it public?
So it does get recorded in that mode on G Plus or on the Hangout.
Ooh. Does that mean all your school kids are going to be watching you on this, Paul?
I hope not. I've told a few stories. Well, no, I didn't tell a few stories that I would be embarrassed for them to know about. They know a few of them anyway. I don't hold back in class too much.
No, I was more thinking of the fact that does it obviously. Yeah, I understand there's a live stream there, but does it then just leave the video on YouTube as a replay?
Yeah, in George's account, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. It's going to be one big hunk because we didn't break it up. But yeah, it's good. And he said that we can have an MP. Oh, there you are, George. Hi. You want to answer that?
We'll have to play around with that a little bit more. I haven't really looked into that as much, but you can download an MP4 and theoretically it can be broken up and edited and stuff like that. So.
Well, that would be cool. That would be brilliant if the video actually just sits there and it's on automatic pilot. Live streams and then.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure if the Hangout on Air then goes directly to the live, or if to the live video we recorded, or in the past I had to actually publish it, but I'm not sure when they changed this if that's how it is. So I'm not sure, but we'll figure it out.
Right.
Nice job.
I think Dave wants to play his guitar.
Oh no, I have a ukulele here. That's what I'm.
All right, but this can't play.
All right.
It can only be original music, by the way.
Oh, is that right?
Seriously. Yeah, you can't strum any tunes at all.
I'm going to rebel in a minute by singing Happy Birthday.
Yeah.
No one's the boss of me.
What did Omar sing? Omar sang something one night on TMN, didn't he?
Well, that's TMN. That's different than here. So.
He was singing one night.
Yeah,
so you have to put up royalties if you do that. Is that the deal?
You just can't.
Because it's a broadcast, right?
You just can't do it. Yeah, because this is Hangout on Air, and it has to be all original material.
For that, I'd have to get my guitar.
I had my bass set earlier, David. Were you here then?
Yeah, I saw it.
Thankfully, nobody's wearing any branded clothing.
Oh, I drank some.
Oh.
I drank a popular caramelized sugary drink earlier.
No
All
branded.
right. Well, shall we wrap this up, and we'll do it again soon. And Super Success Tuesday has been born, so I'm excited about that. And
Fun.
yep. And
Thanks to everyone who turned up on
Top-notch,
YouTube,
George.
Twitter, TMN, Google
Thank you.
Plus,
Yay.
Thanks.
and in the
Yeah,
room.
that's fantastic, everybody. So I'm going to log into TMN and see what's happening there. And
And
yeah,
TMN,
that's
by the way,
brilliant.
for any of you out there, just so we get that out, it's talkmarketingnow.com. You may have been hearing us talking about TMN all night and not know what that really means, because there's a lot of people out there that don't know what TMN is. So it's Talk Marketing Now Network, talkmarketingnow.com, and have shows going on basically Monday through Thursday every night of the week, so you can catch lots of stuff there. And I think most of us will probably be back here on Tuesdays on G Plus and YouTube in the near future. So look for us there too.
Go to talkmarketingnow.com and go look at the list of presentations and stuff that'll be on. You'll be quite surprised.
There's lots of thanks in the TMN room from different people. Sean, Caroline, Lee. Lonnie says, I can't talk porn on YouTube. Which I think means thanks where he comes from. And, so, brilliant. Lonnie, you're a star, and we need to chat, I think, because Lonnie does a lot of this stuff with his membership, so he might be able to tell us a few handy tips.
Cool. Great.
Good stuff. Right.
All right, well let's sign off then, and I'm ending the broadcast, and good night to all.
Thank you.
Good night, George. Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thanks, George.
Good night, John Boy.
Well, good night then.
Harry Mill.
Good